Listen to the waves. Listen to the bell. Listen to the weird circle. Out of the past, phantoms of a world gone by, speak again the immortal tale, Frankenstein.
The wind howling outside my lonely home is my only companion. All else is quiet here, as I sit by my window in the parlor, writing this document for the scientific world. Be warned, you doctors and scientists who come after me. Be warned that man must not experiment with the secrets of life. My experiences started in the University of Manchester, where I was studying natural history. It was after class, May 22nd, 1818, that Professor Waldman, my close dear friend Henry Clerval, and myself were in the laboratory of the university.
Victor Frankenstein, your persistence amazes me. Someday I shall sit at your feet and allow you to teach me.
Thank you, Professor Waldman. But the whole subject of the structure of man has always been too clouded in mysticism.
Well, frankly, Victor, I prefer mysticism.
Well, that's because you're a mystic, Henry.
Why, Henry's no more a mystic than I am. He just loves to avoid arduous work.
Oh, translating that means I'm lazy, eh, Professor?
Well, if you prefer to put it that way, I rather think of you as a student whose nervous structure does not take kindly to natural history.
The professor's kinder to you than you are to yourself, Henry.
Well, if I worked as hard as you do, Victor, I should probably wear that same gaunt, sleepless look that you carry about.
Well, my experiment will be finished tonight. And then I'll manage the 8 hours sleep that other men manage.
The secret experiment will be finished tonight, huh?
Well, then, will you tell us just exactly what you're doing in the basement at home?
I'll tell the entire world. As a matter of fact, I stayed after class this afternoon, Professor Waldman, to ask you to join me this evening in the basement of our place to watch the completion of my work.
Oh. Well, how about me?
I don't think I dare invite more than one, Henry. And the professor is more interested in this type of procedure than you are.
I shall be delighted, Victor.
Just the best friend who never knows what's going on in his own home, that's all.
It's not that, Henry. But I thought you'd entertain Elizabeth for me, while the professor and I were at work.
Entertaining Elizabeth will be a delightful favor, old boy. You know, I think you trust me too much with her. Have you ever met Victor's fiancée, Professor Waldman? She's one of the most charming...
Yes, Elizabeth was one of the most charming, beautiful women I'd ever known. I had been in love with her from childhood, but even my love for Elizabeth couldn't dim my passionate zeal for the work I was doing. It was 8 o'clock that evening. Henry, Elizabeth, and I were seated in the parlor. Elizabeth was saying...
I'll be so glad, Victor, darling, when all this is over. If you only knew how tired you look.
The minute my work is done, successfully or unsuccessfully, I promise you, Elizabeth, we'll be married and off to Switzerland before Henry has time to lock up this place.
But first, we find out about the secret in the basement.
Henry's being eaten up by curiosity.
I don't blame him. I'm suffering pangs of what's it all about, too.
Well, you'll both know soon. I wonder where Professor Waldman is. He's late.
He'll be here soon, Victor. Stop pacing the floor, sweetheart.
I think I'll start my work downstairs. Send the professor down when he arrives, will you, darling?
We'll come down ourselves and take a look around. Or will I turn into a pillar of salt for peeking?
Nobody ever turned into a pillar of salt for peeking, Beth. It was for looking back.
Oh, nothing like a good practical working knowledge of the Bible for scientific experiments. It starts the night off right.
Yes, I thought jokingly of that paragraph from the Bible then. And she was turned into a pillar of salt. But what about a man who looks back? There is no ready reference for him or for me. I went downstairs to my laboratory at a little past 8, opened the door, and started to tinker around to pass the time more quickly. My every sense was alive, taut, waiting, with the sense of what was to come. I heard a knock on the side door, which led me from my laboratory directly into the forest, which bordered Manchester. I looked out and...
Good evening, Victor.
Oh, did Elizabeth tell you to come down this way, Professor?
No, I found the entrance to your laboratory quite by myself.
I help you with your coat, sir?
No. You proceed with your work. Nothing like trivialities to annoy a scientist at work. There we are.
Oh, follow me, Professor, into the back room, and you'll see for yourself what this is all about.
Well, I feel that I'm in for a most exhilarating evening. I wish I had more students fashioned in your mold, Victor.
Well, Professor, here is my...
Why, what's this? A full-sized replica of a man.
Yes, only he isn't full-sized. He's fashioned on a grander scale. I should say this creature standing up would be approximately 8 feet 2 inches tall.
Well, you should have been an artist, Victor. He's a perfect reproduction. What did you make him out of? Wood? Clay?
Animal flesh.
Flesh?
Feel him.
Oh, feels like the body of a dead man.
Or the body of a man who hasn't as yet been brought to life. This body is complete in every detail. Heart, lungs, teeth. Even the fine nervous system.
Well, it's interesting. Yes, interesting. How about the brain cells?
Yes, adult brain cells. I think he's quite handsome, don't you?
Well, each man to his own taste. He's the best reproduction of a man I've ever seen, but actually his face is hideous. As a plastic surgeon, my dear Victor, I'm afraid I can't give you much credit. Well, what do you intend to do with this hulk?
You see this fluid here in the test tube?
Yes.
I filled the hypodermic needle with it. And now I'm going to inject the full 8 ounces into the vein, directly above his heart.
But why?
Watch. You see, Professor, quite by accident, I stumbled on the secret of life. I've been bringing small, one-cell creatures to life for quite some time.
The secret of life?
Within 30 seconds, after this injection, this creature will live.
You're trying to play God, Victor. It's heresy.
It's science. I'm making a new race, by far finer than the present one. Larger in structure, stronger, heavier, healthier. A race able to live on nuts and berries. With a greater capacity for feeling.
Victor, for the love of heaven, don't go through with this experiment. No man living has the right to tamper with the secret of life. You've created a monster on that floor. You've no idea what will happen if you go through with this.
Watch, Professor. The injection.
I only hope and pray this is a failure.
It can't be. His eyes moved. Watch him, Professor. He's like a baby, first realizing life. His hands touch the floor. His eyes are trying to focus on the world around him.
He's hideous.
Yes, he's hideous. I made the skin too much like parchment, I'm afraid.
Victor, get rid of that monster.
He's trying to stand up.
If that mind which you've created is a twisted one, have you any idea what kind of horror you've let loose in England? As a humanitarian, I feel it my Christian duty to do this now.
Put that knife down, Professor.
No, I can't let... Oh, he's got me in the clutch of his hand. Command him to stop this, Victor.
Stop fighting him, Professor. He's frightened. He has the same reactions as a child. Grabs and won't let loose.
Let me go, monster.
Stop! Don't go out that door. Put the professor down. Don't go out that door. The monster left my laboratory through the side entrance into the forest, carrying the incredibly mangled body of the professor with him. I rushed out of my laboratory after him, but the creature was faster than I, and he disappeared from view. I returned to my laboratory and destroyed all evidence of the creature's manufacture. I burned the blueprints from which I had made his body. Then, carefully, I locked my laboratory and went upstairs to join Henry Clerval and Elizabeth. I must have looked wild-eyed as I entered the room.
Henry, that's most amusing. You tell the best anecdotes in all of England.
Oh, you flatter me, Elizabeth.
Oh, Victor, you're through sooner than we expected. Darling, what's the matter?
Didn't the professor show up?
Nothing's the matter. My experiment was a failure.
Oh.
But the professor...
He never showed up. Beth, Henry, I want to go away.
Of course, darling, we will, as soon as Henry can get the house locked up.
I don't want to wait. I want to leave at once, tonight. Please, tonight, Beth. We can get married before we cross the channel and then go to Switzerland.
But it's almost midnight now, darling.
What's the difference? Please, Beth, if you love me.
But why tonight, Victor?
Henry, you've no idea what I've been through. I have to get away at once.
Of course, darling, if you insist. Anything you want.
And we'll be married before daylight. Darling, darling, Beth. I know a little minister whom we can awaken. And so Beth and I were married that evening in a little chapel on the coast. Then the three of us fled to Bern, Switzerland. I refused to have anything to do with the civilized world. No newspapers, no word of home. Just the peace and quiet of the Swiss mountains. Henry and Elizabeth both tried to learn of the events which had occurred in my laboratory that evening. But I never broke my silence on that subject. After the first tries, they refrained from asking me about it again. It was in the middle of the 4th month of our visit when Henry and I were sitting on the terrace of the little house in the mountain. Beth was out picking berries when Henry suddenly...
Victor, I'm your closest friend. I've tried to keep silent about... Well, Victor, the day after we left England, I bought a newspaper.
Did you, Henry?
Yes, I saw this clipping on the front page. I couldn't very well miss it.
What clipping?
This one. The horribly mangled remains of Professor Waldman was found on Beekman Hill. The identity of the unknown murderer is being sought by Scotland Yard.
Poor Professor Waldman. I'd no idea.
Hadn't you?
No. What are you trying to say to me, Henry?
You're leaving England so suddenly that very night. Your fear of being discovered, the secret experiment. Well, it all seemed to add up to some kind of strange connection with this clipping. Now, if you're in trouble, Victor, you can depend on me. I'll stay by your side.
I'm not in trouble. I'm just tired, terribly tired.
And you know nothing of the professor?
Absolutely nothing.
He didn't come to our chateau that evening.
I told you he didn't then. Stop questioning me.
Victor! Victor!
We're out here, Beth.
Oh, I've just had a horrible experience. Oh, darling, I'm so glad to see you.
You're pale, Beth. Sit down right here next to me.
Why, what happened, Beth?
Well, I was walking in the woods not far from here when I looked up and saw... Well, I saw a man. Sort of a man standing over me.
Well, men aren't so bad. That is, if you happen to know the right ones. And you do.
I'm not joshing, Henry. He wasn't exactly a man. He was twice the height of anyone I've ever seen. And his skin looked like dried parchment. It's incredible, but I think I've seen a monster.
Monster?
Yes, I ran away. He didn't follow me. He just stared after me, watching me. You do believe me, don't you?
A monster stared after
look,
you?
Look, Henry. Victor, through the trees right out there. Look! There he is again!
Yes, the monster stood there, silhouetted against the trees. The monster which I had created, standing like an evil blot of flesh and bone, moved in the darkening twilight. And then suddenly, phantom-like, it disappeared. Beth and Henry both watched me as I started from the piazza after the disappearing creature in the backwoods. As I drew near to the heavily wooded section, giant footprints in the soft mud about me showed the path ahead. The sun was sinking in the west, and the last orange pinpoints of light needled my flesh until every sense within me was tingling with the expectations of seeing my living horror. Then I realized I was unarmed. Every crooked tree, each twisted branch which obstructed my path, appeared to be his form. I heard the crackling of a branch and the moving of a form on the velvet moss.
I thought you'd come, Creator.
You.
Are you frightened, Creator?
You dare talk to me?
Please, don't turn away from me. Please.
Let me go.
I mean no harm to you. Listen to me, Victor Frankenstein. You must listen to me. You created me. You owe me that much.
I owe you nothing, murderer.
Why am I a murderer? Because you created a form so horrible, a face so distorted, that no man can look upon me and call me friend. I'm an outcast. You can save me.
Let me go.
Not until you hear my story. Sit down, Creator.
My arm! Let me go!
I wandered through the streets of London that first day. Children screamed in the streets. People flocked together trying to kill me. And I was lonely and hungry.
How did you follow me here?
Not so long ago, I returned to my birthplace, the laboratory, broke in and discovered your identity. But first, I fled to Scotland and lived outside of a cottage. That's how I learned to speak. An old blind man was teaching a young French girl to speak English. I listened to the lessons from the open windows.
Now, what do you expect of me?
A companion. A woman of the same species, with my defects. One who will be my friend. This being you must create.
No, I'll not do it.
You must. Every man's entitled to a wife.
No.
You must. If you create her for me, I'll take her with me into the far wastes, and no one will ever see either of us again. Ever.
How will you live?
On fruits and berries. We'll manage together. Please, you can't deny me this.
A maid. A monster's maid.
You will? You will. I swear, I'll never harm another human. Never create her. If you'll only grant me just one companion.
And if I refuse?
If you refuse, even a brain that you have made, Creator, might become twisted and distorted.
And so that night in the forest, I made a devil's bargain. I bargained to create a monster's mate, perhaps another murderer. How could I know? The monster swore to live in the forest and wait a year or 2 years if necessary, and upon completion of my work, he would take his companion away. But if I broke my promise, he swore revenge. And so I started work. I searched Paris for the necessary equipment, built a shack in the woods about a mile away from our chalet. 3 months I worked, 3 solid months, shaping her who was to be his mate. And then, one night, it was windy outside. I thought the wind had blown the door open when...
Victor!
Victor, I'm sorry. I had to disturb you.
Is it Beth?
No, not Beth. She's fine and sends her love. It's the townspeople. Your activities have stirred up a lot of curiosity.
Oh, the fools!
Well, I can't blame them, especially after the rumors which have been going around. Rumors of the... Victor, you know the monster in these forests. You've known of him all along. People have seen him and connect him with you. Mothers in the village are frightened of their children.
I know nothing.
Look, I'm only trying to help you.
I know nothing, I tell you.
But the men have banded together. They're going to make a raid on you here, to burn your laboratory down, and to find the monster who lives in these woods.
They can't. They mustn't.
Oh, what devil's work are you carrying on, man? I'm trying to help you. Oh, Victor, will you please let your friends be your friends?
Henry, go back to Beth and leave me alone.
Beth is safe at home. You're in danger, and I won't leave your side this night, my friend.
Then be prepared.
Prepared for what?
You've guessed many of the reasons for my secrecy.
Then there is a monster.
At school, I stumbled on the secret of life. I was trying to create a superior race. I was a fool, and I created him instead.
And he does live?
Yes, he lives.
Professor Waldman. What happened to Professor Waldman?
The night I created the monster, Waldman became frightened. He screamed, attempted to kill the creature. The creature, like a child, warded him off and then tore him to pieces in front of me. I couldn't stop him. The monster had killed before it had really begun to live.
Then what?
The monster left the basement through the side entrance, carrying the professor's corpse. I had no choice. I had to leave the country.
Oh, what are you doing with that creature now?
Fulfilling a promise. Follow me into my cabin and I'll show you. How soon do you think the townsfolk will be here?
Oh, within 2 hours or so. They're meeting in the square in town.
Come in.
What? A woman?
Yes, a woman. The monster's mate, his friend. I promised him a friend, and in return he swears to hide himself forever from the world.
A devil's bargain, Victor.
A bargain I must keep for all our sakes.
But the monster proved himself a murderer time and time again. Why, in London after the death of Professor Waldman.
Time and time again.
But how do you know that the mate won't be even more vicious than he? You'll let loose an avalanche of hatred. Oh, destroy her before you bring her to life.
Yes, avalanche of hatred.
Look, you've no time to waste. Set fire to this cabin quickly, Victor. Set fire to the cabin and come away. Why, man alive, you can't go through with this thing.
But the promise.
It's a promise to a fiend. He'll be your death and ours, Victor. Oh, hurry, man, hurry, if you've any love for Beth.
I've been insane with grief and fear for Beth and you. Go back to Beth, Henry, at once and wait for me.
And you?
I'll set fire to the cabin as soon as I destroy my books. I'll join you later.
Well, hurry, friend. We'll meet you home as soon as you can make it.
For 1 full hour, I worked feverishly. I soaked the shack in oil, and then taking a taper from the vase, I lit the fire. The fire started quickly. I placed my books in the very center of the room, and then opened the door of my shack. The experiment was at an end, and I felt free. The monster's mate would never live. I walked out, and then I saw him, his face contorted with rage.
Ah! My wife! My only chance to have a friend! Ah! My only chance!
I knew then what was in his mind as he raced through the forest in front of me. The blazing shack was a beacon of light, and I saw his huge, misshapen form outdistance me, far outdistance me. He was faster than I, taller than I, and covered more territory. Racing, running blindly through the forest, I reached my home. The door of my home was flung open. Henry, mutilated and torn, stumbled blindly toward me.
Victor, the monster.
Henry, what?
I tried to, Victor.
Henry, you.
Beth, no. Upstairs.
Beth, I'm coming, darling, I'm coming. I'm coming upstairs. I'm coming, darling, I'm coming. If you kill her, Beth! Beth, oh, my darling. My darling. Oh, Beth, no. No. Both you and Henry. Both dead.
You two are alone, Creator.
Yes. Both of them were dead. All my dear ones gone from me now, and I'm alone. The wind howling outside my window is my only companion. All else is quiet as I sit by my window, writing this document. I am dying of loneliness and fear, shunned by the world, hated by everyone. I know I am waiting only for the monster's return, and he, having eluded the world, will return when I've suffered my full share of misery, as he has suffered his.
From the time-worn pages of the past, we have brought you the story Frankenstein. Bellkeeper, toll the bell. Out of the past, phantoms of a world gone by, speak again the immortal tale, the oblong box.
There, Captain. There she is.
Hand me your glass. Aye. 5 aboard. Very well, turn about. We'll drop line and take them on.
Aye, sir.
Stand by the mainsail! Longboat sighted northeast. Lifelines on up.
You make out what ship she's from?
Too far, Captain. She's American, though.
Aye.
Now, we'll soon be on them.
Mate, if the captain's with them, send him up to my cabin.
Aye, sir.
Take in the mainsail. Easy now, don't run him under. Heave to.
That's about all, Captain. We'd been at sea in the longboat for 2 days when you sighted us. Just about done in. My friend here, Mr. Allen, was the only passenger to survive.
You say you're from the packet ship Independence, eh?
Aye.
What cargo were you carrying?
Cotton, a little hemp, and some timber.
I see. And that was all?
Aye. Did you happen to pass some drift, Captain?
We did. Nothing you just spoke of. Would you care for a little more grog, gentlemen?
Oh, thank you.
And you, sir?
Yes. Yes, please.
No, we passed nothing adrift that you mentioned, but we did hoist aboard something rather strange, you might say. It may not have come from your ship, though. Could only make out the port of embarkation and the date. Charleston, South Carolina, August the 2nd, 1881.
That was our port. That was our date of sailing.
Captain, what was it you took aboard?
2 bodies. Passengers, I suppose. A man and a woman. Rather unusual, though. The woman was in a coffin. An oblong box. You seem startled, Mr. Allen.
I am. And the man?
That's the strange part. He was lashed to the coffin by an inch-thick rope.
Oh.
From your reaction, Mr. Allen, I presume you know something about the box?
Yes, I'm afraid so.
Then, Mr. Allen, suppose you relate the entire story.
Very well. To tell you the truth, Captain, I'd intended telling no one. You see, as Captain Hardy told you, the dead man had been a friend of mine. I'd hoped the sea would keep its dead. The man whose body you found tied to that oblong box was an artist from New York. His name was Cornelius Wyatt. As I remember, Wyatt had been married only a few months when I met him quite by accident. It was at our port of sailing, Charleston. I'd been on board only a few minutes when I heard his voice calling me by my first name.
I was quite surprised to see my old friend.
Edgar Allen, hello there.
Wyatt! Why, heavens, man. How are you? Huh?
Oh, it's good to see you. How long has it been?
Oh, a good year since I saw you last, at least. Let's see. Yes, since 1877.
All the places to meet you.
Now, tell me, Wyatt, is your wife aboard?
My wife? Well, yes.
Good. More people have raved about her astounding beauty to me than I could possibly count. I've sworn to see her with my own eyes. Where is she?
I'm sorry, Edgar. I'm afraid that would be impossible. You see, she's ill in her cabin.
Oh, what a shame. Well, then, later, I'm sure
No. Really, I think she'll remain in bed for the rest of the trip. Her health wouldn't permit it.
Oh, come, Wyatt. You wouldn't cheat me of this chance to meet your beautiful wife. The sea air'll do her good. Or is it because you're jealous of such beauty, huh?
Please keep such remarks to yourself. My wife's appearance should be of no concern to you.
Oh, but, Wyatt, I was only joking. I meant no harm.
Your humor is not appreciated, Mr. Allen.
Well, forgive me. I assure you I meant no harm.
I beg pardon, sir. You Mr. Wyatt?
Yes?
That there box of yours, you're having it shipped in the hold?
Confound it, man. How many times must I give these instructions? My cabin, you understand? It must be put in my cabin. Must I tell the captain himself?
Sorry, sir, but there's hardly any room for such a large box in your
I don't care how little room there is. That box will go into my cabin if I have to move it there myself.
Very well, sir. Sorry, sir.
Confounded fools. Must I beg them to carry out my instructions?
Is that the box?
Excuse me, Mr. Allen. The clumsy fools may drop it. I'd better watch them. I'll see you later.
Although at the time I was surprised by my friend's sudden outburst, I passed it off to temperament. After all, he was an artist. At the moment, I was more concerned over the oblong box than over my friend. It bothered me quite a bit. I couldn't find a reason for his being so overwrought over the placement of a cumbersome large wooden box. And furthermore, I couldn't find a reason for his use of one that shape. It was about 6 feet long and 2.5 feet wide. To me, its contents were a mystery. At first, I excused it as containing a number of his precious paintings. About 3 days out of Charleston, I met Wyatt again. He was walking about the deck. As I approached him, he cordially offered me his hand.
Hello there.
Hello, Wyatt.
Edgar, I believe I owe you an apology.
Apology?
Yes, you must forgive the way I acted the day before we sailed. I'm not as well as I should be.
Oh, think nothing of it.
Here, let's sit here. That's it. I'm under a severe strain, Edgar. Perhaps I should tell you. You are my friend. I should tell someone.
Why, of course.
What others have told you about my wife is true. She is beautiful. Very beautiful. I'm afraid too beautiful.
Yes?
I was one of many, many suitors. I was the fortunate one. Why, I don't know. She doesn't love me, Edgar.
Are you sure she doesn't love you?
Yes, I'm sure, very sure. Since I've been married, she's done her utmost to make me jealous. She knows how I worship her beauty. She knows her power. Men have always loved her for it. They still do. I know, Edgar. I'm suffering because of it. There are men today who would give anything for my wife's hand. Anything. She knows it. She taunts me with it continuously. The way she looks at me, laughs at me.
You're in love with her?
Desperately.
And you'd never give her up?
Never.
And she knows this?
Of course. That's why she taunts me.
Well, perhaps if I could see her...
No. She's still ill.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This trip. You know why I'm going to Canada? Do you know why?
Paintings?
I'm taking her away. Away from all those men. She'll learn to love me. I'll make her. I'll keep her beauty for myself.
Well, perhaps this is an extreme.
Extreme? No, it's the only thing to do. You don't know the torture I've suffered. Well, let's talk no more about it. I feel better now.
As you wish.
You will keep my confidence?
Oh, without question. Now, how's your painting coming, Wyatt?
I haven't touched a brush in months.
But the canvases you brought aboard, weren't they yours?
Canvases?
I suppose they were in the large box you have in your cabin.
Why do you suppose that?
Well, because of its unusual size.
That box doesn't concern you. It's none of your business.
I didn't say that I...
Don't ever mention that box again. I forbid you. You hear? Don't ever mention that box again.
Perhaps I've been too hasty, Captain. Perhaps the man just isn't well physically. Why, the box, it could contain something unimportant. I think I was overly curious, that's all. I've known him for a long while, you know. He's always appeared perfectly normal before.
And everything's been all right lately?
For the past few days, yes. He's been perfectly cordial.
And I think perhaps it's best we pass over the entire matter. There's probably some some simple story behind what's happened.
Here, more port?
No, thanks. I think it's best I be getting back to my cabin. Looks as though there's an unhealthy storm brewing along the coast. I'd best get back.
Oh, I noticed it getting a little rough. Will it hit us?
I can't tell yet. Well, good night, Mr. Allen. Perhaps you'll join me at dinner tomorrow night, eh?
Thank you, Captain. I'd be... Listen.
What?
Shh. I thought I heard... Listen. Again.
Nothing. I hear nothing. The wind, that's all. The events have made you a little nervous, I suppose.
No, wait. I'm sure I heard something strange. Groaning or something from out there.
Well, open the door. It's probably the ship's cat.
Captain, here, quickly.
The passageway's black. The steward probably took the lantern to...
Listen. Again. Hear it?
Oh, yes. Yes, I do.
It came from the darkness down there to the end of the passageway.
Somebody's in trouble. Who has the stateroom at the end of the passageway?
I think Wyatt. The first two are empty.
Well, come along. Pull your cabin door closed.
I'll get a lamp. The darkness...
No, I know my way. We may need the darkness.
Very well.
Stay close. The first two, you say, are empty?
Yes.
And this one you believe is Wyatt?
It should be.
I'll stand here a moment. I'll listen again.
A knocking. Tapping.
I'll try this latch. I'll open it as quietly as possible.
There's no light under the door.
Stand back.
Easy now.
What? Blast it. It's locked from the inside.
Well, someone is definitely in there.
I'm going to knock. Now listen closely. Someone is in there. You heard it?
Hello in there. Is that you, Wyatt? This is Ellen. Anything wrong? Hello there.
No answer. I don't like this. Open the door, Wyatt. It's the ship's captain. I'll be forced to break in. Here, help me. Help me as I count 3.
Go on.
1, 2. Ready now. 3.
Where are you, Wyatt?
Wait. There's a lantern by the port. I'll strike a light. Stand here and... Empty. The room is empty.
For a moment, both of us stood there, in the gloom of Wyatt's cabin. We were sure somebody had been there but a moment before. We'd heard them. And now the cabin was apparently empty. The door had been locked from the inside. Nobody could have left the room without our seeing them. Then suddenly Captain Hardy pointed to the right wall of the cabin. There in the dimness of the gloomy shadows.
Alan, this cabin and the one beside it are adjoined. Now, let me get the light and see if the adjoining door has been opened. Whoever left in a hurry. Here, Alan. Give me a hand. I can't reach the lantern. Blast it!
Hardy!
All right. Just stumbled over this blasted box. My hand.
The oblong box.
Excuse me, gentlemen. I didn't mean to intrude.
Wyatt!
May I come in? There's another lamp by the table. Allow me, Captain Hardy.
But where did you come from? How did you get into the passageway
there. That's better. Mr. Allen, I have been walking my wife on deck. May I introduce you? Oh, you may come in, Marjorie. Marjorie, this is Mr. Allen, the man who desired to meet you so much, and the captain of this vessel, Captain Hardy.
How do you do?
You do.
And now, gentlemen, may I ask the reason for your, breaking in?
We heard a noise, a cry. We thought it was from your cabin.
That would have been impossible. There was nobody there.
Are you sure? We heard...
Of course I'm sure. There was no one here, I tell you. And Now, gentlemen, if you don't mind...
Wyatt, before we go...
Yes, Mr. Allen?
Ask your wife to remove her veil.
Marjorie, would you please oblige the gentleman? My wife, Mr. Allen.
Your wife? But
she is beautiful, isn't she?
Yes. Yes, she is.
You, too, seem stunned.
Quite. Yes, quite. Captain Hardy, come. Thank you, Wyatt.
One moment, Captain Hardy.
Yes?
Would it be too much to ask for a new cabin door? This one seems to have suffered slightly.
I'll see to it.
Good night, gentlemen.
Hurry. To my cabin. His wife. Did you see his wife?
Yes. She was hideous.
His rave about her beauty. Why, he's mad, Captain. Hopelessly mad. She was horribly ugly. Yet she was familiar. I've seen her before. I know it. Where?
Did you notice the door leading to the adjoining cabin?
No.
It was open slightly. Someone could have left Wyatt's cabin and reached the passageway through the empty one next to it.
Hardy?
Yes?
Your hand, covered with blood. Well, you must have cut it yourself when you fell. Here, let me wash it off.
No, it isn't cut.
Yes, but that blood.
It isn't mine.
Well, then where did you...
The oblong box, Mr. Allen. The oblong box.
What was behind this terrible mystery, neither of us knew. We would inform the police as soon as we put to port. From then on, I saw nothing of Wyatt. 2 days passed since the incident in his cabin. Now, on the second day, Captain Hardy warned all the passengers of what was in store for us. We were forbidden on deck, confined to our cabins. We were being blown out to sea by a furious hurricane wind. On the fateful night, I was lying fully clothed on my bed. The sea was sickening. The ship was yawing terribly with each plunge. I was expecting the worst at any moment. Then suddenly, above the roar of the terrible gale, I heard a strange sound coming from the passageway before my cabin. I was a little bewildered at first. For a few moments, I sat there on my bed, wondering. And then...
Edgar! This is Wyatt! Do you hear me?
What is it?
I need your help, Edgar! I need your help!
Go back to your cabin, Wyatt. You hear? Get out of the passageway. It's dangerous. The ship may...
Please open the door. You must. You must help me. You're my friend, Edgar. Please.
Very well. What? Good heavens.
My box. I've got to get it on deck. I've got to. The ship may break in two at any moment. Please help me. I can't manage it alone. Please.
Well, you must be completely insane. The storm is too high. It's suicide, I tell you. You'll be blown overboard.
Just to the door. You don't have to go on deck. I have some rope. I'll lash myself to the stays. I'll be safe. Please.
Yes, but your wife. You can't leave your wife alone now. Go back to her. Snap out
Just
of it.
up the stairs. Please, Edgar. You're my friend. Please, Edgar, please.
Very well. To the top of the stairs.
The other end. Take the other end. That's it.
Go on. I have it. Hurry, it's heavy.
All right. Here. This way.
All right.
Up these stairs.
I've got it.
Here. Don't drop it, Edgar. Don't drop it. All right. All right. A little further, Edgar. Just a little further. Now. There.
This is as far as I go.
Oh, thank you, Edgar. Thank you. You don't know what this means.
Now, go back to your cabin.
I can't. I must get my box on deck.
Then I leave.
No, please. One other favor. Hold this hatch while I push the box out.
I beg you, Wyatt, use your head. The water will swamp us. Listen to it.
Please, Edgar, please.
Well, then, stand back. I'll open the hatch. I'm not responsible for you, you fool. Hurry, confound you, hurry. We'll be swamped. For heaven's sake, Wyatt, you'll never make it. Wyatt, watch out. Come back, you fool, come back. I've got to close it. Come back.
Alan! Close that hatch! Get back!
Captain, here, help me. Close it, quickly. In the heavens' name, hurry. Now, push.
What in thunderation were you doing?
Wyatt, he's out there. He took the box.
Good heavens, he's done for. No, it's too late to help him now. I'm afraid we're going to have to abandon ship. She's breaking. Starboard lifeboat, Edgar. Make for it.
Yes, but Mrs. Wyatt, she's below. She'll be killed. I'll get her
The
first.
starboard boat, Edgar. The starboard boat.
Mrs. Wyatt, to the boats! Mrs. Wyatt, we're sinking! Come on!
Mr. Allen, where is he? Where is he?
Hurry this way. Run!
No, wait, please. Please, listen.
In the name of heaven, woman, come on, quick! No time to lose! Good Lord. Mrs. Wyatt! Mrs. Wyatt! Then suddenly she disappeared before me. Water gushed down the passageway. She was swallowed by it. I struggled forward and made my way to the starboard boat. I jumped for the swinging davit and lowered myself as speedily as possible into the longboat. Captain Hardy joined me with 3 others of his crew. And then, just as we pushed out from the trembling mass of wreckage, I saw it. Hardy did too. Standing to aft, I saw Wyatt. He was binding himself tightly to the oblong box. He stood there for a moment, I thought laughing. Then in one brief instant he was gone with the ship. Into the sea.
And, that's all?
Yes.
I see. Would you gentlemen be so kind as to follow me? This should prove rather interesting. This way, gentlemen.
Captain, when did you find this box?
Yesterday afternoon. In here, please. Mr. Allen, hand me that lantern. And watch the stairs, please. They're rather sharp here.
Lead on.
Ordinarily, we would not have bothered with a floating body. It's generally some poor wretch from a wrecked vessel. However, due to the box and the peculiar circumstances, I thought it best to hoist it on board.
Yes, but the decomposition...
Oh, the salt water helped preserve them for a while. I thought we could reach New London safely with them. However, since we were blown off our course by that wind, it'll be a good day and a half before we reach land. I'm afraid I shall have to commit them both back to the sea. Mr. Allen, swing that door open, please, will you? Over there, in that corner.
Yes. Yes, that's the box.
Captain Hardy, would you kindly hold the lantern while I lift this blanket?
Certainly.
Is this the man you call Wyatt?
Poor devil. Hardly recognizable. Yes, that's Wyatt.
And now, Mr. Allen, if you would give me a hand with the top of this box. It had been firmly nailed. However, we pried it loose when we took it aboard. Just pull at that end carefully.
Good heavens.
Even after 2 days at sea, death did not destroy that waxen beauty.
It's almost impossible. Still so beautiful.
You notice the wound over the heart?
Yes.
Mr. Allen, that was the beauty Mr. Wyatt talked of.
Why, of course. This must have been his wife. But wait, the other Mrs. Wyatt. Oh, yes, of course. I knew I'd seen her somewhere before. The maid. Their personal maid. Yes, now I remember. She tried to tell me something before she drowned. Wyatt murdered his real wife.
If only we had done something sooner.
Murdered his wife? How could he? Why?
Insanely jealous. Terribly jealous. To die with her would be better than to live with her and her beauty. He planned to murder her on that trip when I saw them stowing that box. Remember the groans? She was murdered that night. The blood, it was fresh. Remember the tapping we heard as he nailed her in this coffin. Hardy, I think we'd better leave. Yes. Yes, Wyatt. Your wife is very, very beautiful.
From the time-worn pages of the past, we have brought you the story, The Oblong Box. Bellkeeper, toll the bell. Out of the past, phantoms of a world gone by speak again their immortal tale. The Thing in the Tunnel.
Listen. That's the long moaning whistle of the through express, wailing through the lonesome night, crying like a lost and anguished soul in the mountains. Listen to it. I've heard that mournful crying for 10 years. And each time it reminds me of McGregor. Yeah, it reminds me of McGregor. My name's Kelsey, Howard Kelsey. I live out here solitary and alone because I like it. I hear nothing but the wind and the passenger and freight trains roaring through the canyons and the arroyos of the Clearwater Range. And, of course, myself. I'm a lonely man, sure. I got too many memories. Ah, there she comes. She's through the tunnel now. The Statesman Express. 12-car Pullman roaring like a blast of thunder for home. Ah, McGregor. McGregor, are you flagging her through once more? I met McGregor by accident. In those days, I was new to this country, and I lived here with a fellow named Pike, an old-time prospector. He had a voice of sandpaper and a heart of stone. He didn't like me, and I didn't like him. But prospecting kept us together for a time. Nonetheless, we went out separately, and sometimes 2 or 3 days went by before we saw each other again. I first met McGregor on one of those trips. I'd come through some valley in the Clearwater Range, and just as day was beginning to fall, I found myself on top of a steep embankment, overlooking a gleaming set of rails. The air was dead silent, the mountains around me purple and velvet soft in the setting sun. It was all so still and so silent that, well, for a moment I felt the whole world had died. But just then, suddenly, I saw somebody move down by the tracks. I cried, "Hello, below there! Hello!" Well, the man spun about and stared up the track in the opposite direction. I called again, "Hello, below there! Hello!" The man spun about again, and this time he saw me. "How do I get down there?"
Over to your left, there's a path.
"All right, thanks. I'll be down in a minute." Well, the whistle called just as I began to descend. A rumble filled the air. And just as I reached the rail bed, I saw the tunnel, hewn out of mountain rock. And plunging from the tunnel's mouth, like some black, terrible monster, roared a train. It tore by me in a deafening roar. And then when it was past, directly opposite, on the other side of the track, stood the man I'd just called. And he was staring at me strangely. He was short and dark-skinned, and his eyes were sunk deep in his head. He wore a sheepskin coat and an old fedora, and he was holding a signal flag. Hello. My name's Kelsey.
Hello.
I was just kind of wandering, and, well, I saw you, and I called, and...
I work here.
Oh. Well, kind of lonely, isn't it?
It is.
What do you do?
Don't you know?
What? Well, should I? Oh, the flag. Signalman, huh?
And telegrapher.
I see. Say, look, if I'm breaking any regulation by being here, I mean, well, you look as if
I was thinking that maybe I've seen you before.
Where?
Over there.
By the tunnel mouth?
Yes.
But good Lord, man, I've never seen it before. I didn't even know you had a tunnel here. Well, don't you believe me?
I think so. My name is McGregor.
I'm glad to meet you, McGregor.
My signal shack's just down the road. I've got some coffee inside. I'd be glad to share some. Like you said, it's lonely here. Very lonely. You see, coffee's ready.
Well, can I help? Get cups or something?
No, I'll get them. Tell me, why did you shout what you did when you were on the embankment?
What did I shout?
Hello, below there. Hello. Those were the exact words.
Well, I don't know why I shouted them especially.
Are you sure? You had no reason? I mean, did you feel that somebody or something was making you shout just those words?
No. What makes you think that something did?
They might have.
Who might have? Say, look, are you all right, McGregor?
I'm all right, fine. It's just...
Just what?
Look, listen to me. Don't think I'm crazy. You mustn't.
Oh, why should I think it?
It's just... Well, when you see something, it's there, isn't it? I mean, it's real when you can see it and hear it. It's not a dream or a nightmare when you can see it there night after night. It's real, isn't it? Isn't it?
What in the world are you talking about? Look, put that coffee down. Over here. You'll spill it. Hey, you better put it down and answer your key. Say, look. What's the matter with you? What are you staring at that telegraph key like that?
Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Leave me alone. Let me out. Let me out.
McGregor! Well, I stood there in the little shack, dumbfounded. And by the time I roused myself out of it, McGregor was coming back. He came into this shack, and his face was haggard, and his eyes strained wide and unseeing. He shut the door.
It's gone.
What's gone? What are you talking about, McGregor? Are you sick or something?
It was there. I saw it. Why does it come back? Why?
Now, look, sit down, man. Calm yourself. You're not yourself. You'd better answer your telegram.
I can't. There's no one to answer. It's him that's doing it.
Well, who is him?
Can't you understand it? It's a warning. An accident signal. And he's sending it. He's sending it.
Now, listen to me. This can't go on.
He stands there night after night in the tunnel's mouth, and he shouts frantically, "Hello, below there! Hello! Look out! Clear the track! Clear the track!" It's been going on for a week now, standing there and shouting in such an agony.
It's the wind you've been hearing, man.
It's not the wind, it's him. Him. He's outside now in the tunnel mouth.
You've been dreaming things.
Then look for yourself. Look for yourself.
I will. Well, I walked up the tracks toward the tunnel. And then I saw it. I stopped dead. And I stared. And there, standing in the tunnel's mouth, wrapped in an eerie radiance, stood a figure. I could see him clearly. One hand waving frantically, and the other hiding his face. And I could hear his voice, like something out of the tomb, pleading.
"Hello, below there. Hello. Look out. Look out. Clear the track. Clear the track."
And And again that train whistle moaned amongst the hills. And all the time I watched him, he stood there waving, dressed in what seemed to be a short coat and a beaver hat.
Look out! Clear the track! Clear the track!
McGregor! Bring a lantern, McGregor.
Aye, he gives his own light.
Bring out a lantern. We're going up to him. He must be real. And McGregor brought out a lantern. And up the twin gleaming rails we moved. The lantern cast a wan pool of light about us. And as we walked, it shook madly, running long, sharp shadows at our feet. And it was cold, it was so cold, my body shivered. My hands were as nervous as an old man's hands. And now the voice of the thing in the tunnel got louder and louder, and it was sepulchral, hollow-sounding, and torn with grief.
Look out! Look out! Look out!
McGregor, do you know him? Do you know him at all?
No, he's not real. All week he stood there and called.
Clear the tracks! Clear the tracks!
He's waving his arm in such a frenzy.
He's warning me. He's warning me. But of what?
Hello,
of what?
below there. Hello.
When we are close to him, seize him.
Yes. Seize him. I'll seize him.
Stop it, McGregor. Do you hear me? Stop it.
Yes, I'll stop.
Pull yourself together, man. We'll be near him in a few moments now.
I'll try. That whistle. Where's that whistle from? No trains due now.
McGregor.
What?
Are you ready?
Yes.
Look out below there. Look out. Clear the tracks. Clear the tracks.
Now.
I've got it.
What?
He's gone. It's gone, Kelsey.
Down the tunnel, quick.
Yes. Vanished under my hands. Like a puff, he disappeared.
Come on, McGregor. In the tunnel. Come on. Look sharp, McGregor. He must be in here. He couldn't disappear like that.
The dead can. The dead can.
Stop it, McGregor. Now look about you. Do you see anything?
You won't find him. You won't. He's not real. You won't find him. You won't. He's dead. He's a ghost, a specter, a vision of death. He's the dead trying to warn me. But of what? Tell me of what? Of what? Of what?
And we did not find the thing in the tunnel. After a while, we went back to the signal shack. McGregor, I said.
Yes?
How long have you worked here?
Some 6 months. Why?
What brought you to this?
I needed a job, and there was one here. The other signalman before me was killed.
Killed?
Yes, a train caught him. Captain Beaver, that was his name.
What?
Eh?
What was his name?
Captain Beaver. That's what they called him, on account... What's the matter?
Didn't you notice, McGregor?
Notice what?
His hat. The thing's hat.
What about... Kelsey?
Yes, McGregor. It was a beaver hat. A beaver.
He's there again.
I'm going outside.
Wait, the lantern. I want to see.
Hello, below there. Hello. Clear the track. Clear the track.
Look, McGregor. Look, his hat.
It is, Beaver. I never noticed.
Look out. Look out.
Then it's him. The other signalman come back from the dead. But why? Why? What's he trying to warn me of? Tell me, Kelsey. Tell me. What is the dead trying to say?
At dawn, McGregor's relief came. A young, sullen-looking boy named Carter. They both used a sleeping shack a few hundred yards away from their station, and it was to this shack that McGregor took me. Well, after a while, I fell asleep for, I don't know how long, until...
Kelsey, wake up. It's time. Wake up.
What? What is it? What's the matter?
It's time for me to go on.
Oh. Oh, I feel as if I only just fell asleep.
You can stay here if you want to.
No, I want to go alone.
Well, there's the 9 o'clock express coming through. We better go then.
We left soon after, and when we reached the embankment, evening was coming down. And with each step, I felt my heart thudding. The question loomed in my mind like a flame. Was the thing in the tunnel mouth? Was it there? The evening express screamed again through the hills, and its pitch suddenly seemed lifted to a tense agony. And when we reached the tracks, my eyes were strained with staring. Well, we went up to the shack. Inside, we asked Carter if anything had happened while he was on. Nope, he said, as dull as ever. He shook himself into a heavy Mackinaw and said so long and walked out. We heard his footsteps fading. We listened to them as if they were the last living sounds we'd ever hear. And then they were gone. And we stood in the shack, hearing only the whistle of the express coming down the hills.
Maybe he won't come tonight. Maybe the thing has left us at last.
Maybe.
I dreamed about that all day. Maybe he's given up and I won't ever hear or see him again.
Even though you think it's trying to warn you of something?
Of what? Of what? What's there to be warned of for a whole week? Maybe it's all a lark, a joke. A dead man's joke.
Take it easy, McGregor.
Tell me, Kelsey, please tell me. Am I going crazy? Maybe I'm seeing and hearing all this in my own brain. I can't tell anymore. I can't. I'm so tired. It would be pleasant to escape, to forget. If I am going crazy...
McGregor, stop it. If you're mad, then so am I. I've seen the thing.
Then what does it want? What does it want? There, it's him. It's him again. He's outside. He's come back.
McGregor! I raced out after him. He was standing there between the glistening rails. And in the tunnel mouth, wrapped in its unearthly radiance, stood the thing, waving and calling.
Clear the tracks. Clear the tracks.
And then I became aware of the faint rumble of a train. The express. McGregor, get off the tracks! Get off the tracks!
Clear the tracks. Clear the tracks.
I seized McGregor and I pulled him off. And it was just in time. Like an incredible, fiery-eyed monster, the express engine roared out of the tunnel mouth. Thunderously, multiple eyes it plunged past. And then, unbelievably, it happened. I saw the rear cars, as if they were toys, suddenly flung, hurtling off the tracks. A fearful grinding and crashing filled the air, and along the embankment there was a turmoil of twisted steel and fire. A sheet of flame leapt up. Smoke poured in billowing clouds from the terrible wreckage, and it screamed. The night was torn with the cries of the injured and the dying. McGregor, get to your telegraph. Call for help. McGregor!
So this is what it was warning me about.
Will you get to your key? There are people dying.
Look in the tunnel mouth, Kelsey. Look, the thing's in the tunnel mouth.
Clear the tracks. Clear the tracks.
Kelsey, he's still calling it. He's still warning me. This wasn't it. There's something else. There must be something else.
With the first sign of dawn, it disappeared, faded. And with the first sign of dawn, full emergency aid reached this lonely station. We worked all through the night and early morning. And it wasn't until mid-afternoon that McGregor and I parted company, he to his shack and I to mine. We promised to meet again soon, but it was some 4 days before I saw McGregor again. One morning, I heard some rapping on my door. Come in. McGregor.
Hello, Kelsey.
Come in. Shut the door.
He's moved, Kelsey.
Moved?
The thing. He's moved.
He's no longer in the tunnel mouth?
No. It's left it.
Good.
Is it?
Well, isn't it? The thing's not in the tunnel mouth anymore. It's gone. Isn't that?
It's not gone, Kelsey.
What do you mean?
2 nights ago, it moved.
I don't understand, McGregor.
I don't understand it myself, Kelsey. But 2 nights ago, it wasn't in the tunnel mouth. It appeared further down the tracks.
You mean...
I mean it appeared closer to me. And it waved and called to me from its new position. Last night it appeared even nearer in another position.
But why?
Can't you understand why? It's frantic, Kelsey. Frantic. It can't get me to understand what it wants to warn me of from the tunnel mouth, so it's coming closer. Maybe its time is running out, getting shorter.
Or maybe it was only an illusion.
Is the thing itself an illusion? No. I tell you, it's trying to reach me to tell me something, Kelsey.
You mustn't go back.
That's just it. I mustn't stay away. I mustn't.
You've got to stay away.
Can't you see? Maybe what it wants to tell me will ease it. Maybe it's an anguished, damned soul, and I can free it. I don't know. Maybe it's about a different accident. Or
what?
Or maybe it's about myself. Maybe it's a message to me alone. Maybe that signalman's come back from the grave just for me. I can't go away. I can't. I've got to wait until it reaches me, until I understand, until I know.
And in the falling dusk, we came down the embankment, hearing at the same time the first signalings of the Northwest Limited, the Statesman, winding through the Clearwater Range. We relieved Carter, and after he had gone, we sat down in the shack. Somehow, this night felt uniquely strange. Later on, I knew why.
Kelsey, I have a brother back east.
Huh?
If anything should happen, let him know. I'll write his address.
Now, stop that nonsense, McGregor.
It's not nonsense. I feel it tonight. There's something... You'll let him know, please. You will, won't you?
Well, this is foolish. All right, I will. But nothing's going to happen.
That's the Statesman. It's in the canyon now. I wish I were on it. Going past, never stopping. I wish... Kelsey.
Yes?
Why don't the dead lie still? Haven't they had enough of living? What insane desire drives them back again?
If you don't leave off these ideas...
The telegraph key's all right, isn't it?
Why?
See if the key's all right, Kelsey. Try it. Tap it.
Now, McGregor...
No. See. He has to be able to reach me. If the key's not working, how can he? Tap it.
Well, all right. There. It's fine. It works fine.
And it's strange. Where is he?
Where are you going?
Outside. I've got to see.
Now, will you please come?
Something wrong, I know. I've got to reach. I've got to...
McGregor! McGregor, the key!
Signalman. Captain Beaver, where are you? It's I, McGregor. Where are you, Signalman?
He was calling the thing. And all at once, I was seized with terror. I ran out. There in the moonless night, I saw McGregor walking up the tracks, moving slowly, calling, walking like a lonely, bewildered hunter in the immense starry night of the mountains.
Where are you, Captain Beaver? I'm coming. Where are you?
But something was wrong, because the thing was not visible. Even McGregor was aware of it. He halted uncertainly for a moment, his head turning in all directions.
Can't you find me, Captain Beaver? McGregor, looking for you. There's something wrong. Tell me. What should I do? Tell me.
The train, McGregor! The train! And then suddenly, as if it were a trick of magic, the air flared luridly beside McGregor, and the thing stood there. McGregor clutched it.
Captain Beaver, I'm here. What is it? Tell me. What are you trying to tell me?
Look out! Clear the track! Clear the track!
And again the whistle blasted the air. I saw McGregor staring fixedly, face to face with the thing, as if he were listening. I saw the thing waving and shouting, but all at once I did not hear its words. And I knew that it was speaking to McGregor. Now I know what the thing was trying to warn McGregor of. And McGregor knew it, too. He found it out too late. The train and his own death. I saw McGregor's face contort with horror as he listened to the thing. And then suddenly he spun around, staring wild with fear at the tunnel. And plunging, like a cyclopean-eyed monster, the train roared down. The whole picture in that moment burned into my brain. The thunderous locomotive, McGregor transfixed with horror, and the eerie, gesticulating thing. And then the engine was upon it. They stopped the train a few hundred yards below the accident. But There was nothing much to find, and less to recognize. I stood unmoving for a while. This was what the thing had tried to warn MacGregor of. This. His own death. The kind of accident that had occurred to the thing itself once upon a time. I remember still the last time I saw it. It stood where the train had struck MacGregor down, wrapped in its own radiance, holding its bowed head in its hand as if weeping, grieving that its warning had so tragically failed. Ah, listen to it. Listen to it. Forlorn and sad. Go ahead. Blow, engineer. Blow. Lament for MacGregor. Sorrow for MacGregor. Even the dead, the ghost of Captain Beaver, grieved.
From the time-worn pages of the past, we have brought you the story, The Thing in the Tunnel. Bellkeeper, toll the bell. Out of the past, phantoms of a world gone by, speak again the immortal tale, the possessive dead.
I know superstition dictates that it's bad luck for a young man to see his bride the evening before his wedding. However, Michael and I were two lonely people in a big, wintry city, and we were not at all addicted to belief in superstition. We had known each other since we were children, and I had loved Michael as long as that. He, on his part, claimed to have loved me even longer. It was the warm kind of love, the kind that grows on you and stays, believing and never wavering. Yes, Michael and I did see each other the day before we were to be married. In fact, we went shopping together. We entered one of the dusty little shops Michael loved so much. It was warm in there, musty, and sort of attic-like.
Ooh. Oh. Well, it's warm in here anyhow.
But what a funny little place. So much stuff. I never saw so many old things together in one place. And look. Look, Michael, the shopkeeper. He looks exactly like a gnome.
Baldest head I ever laid eyes on.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Can I help you?
Oh, thank you. We're just looking around.
Anything in particular you'd like to find?
Well, to tell you the truth, I was looking for an odd piece, something unusual for a paperweight. A little curiosity of some sort.
Well, just look around, sir. Perhaps you'll find what you want.
Oh, thanks. Say, there. That looks like just the thing.
Oh, no, sir, no. I'm sure that wouldn't do.
Oh, why not? It's beautiful. It's the most beautifully modeled foot I've ever seen.
It's not heavy enough for a paperweight, sir. And besides, you wouldn't want to pay that much just for an ornament.
Oh, it can't be too expensive, especially if it's not heavy. Bronze, isn't it?
No, not bronze.
Huh?
Oh, here, I'll take it off the table. It shouldn't be there anyway.
Oh, that's lovely. Must have been near some perfume, too. Smell that scent. Well, Michael, it seems almost real.
Perhaps you'd like one of these little plaster gods, sir. Something Chinese or Mexican. They're very nice.
Let me see the foot.
It's $50, sir.
$50? Oh, don't be ridiculous.
Oh, Michael, perhaps the man doesn't want to sell it.
But I like it. I'll never pay $50 for it, though.
But that's the price, sir. Now, you see, you don't really want it. Perhaps one of these glass globes would do.
Let me see that foot.
Very well, if you insist. But don't drop it, sir. For heaven's sake, don't drop it.
Oh, why should I? Oh.
Michael, what happened?
You dropped it. You dropped the foot.
It...
What, Michael? What What's wrong? Here, I'll pick it up.
No, don't, Eleanor. Don't touch it.
Michael! It moved in my hand.
It what? Oh, it must have been our imaginations. It does feel almost alive, though, doesn't it?
No, Michael, I felt it too. That foot moved in my hand as I picked it up.
I'll sell you that foot for $1, sir.
All right, it's a bargain.
No, Michael, please don't. Please, Michael.
First, though, tell me what this foot is made of.
That, sir, is the foot of the mummy of the Princess Hymonthis. It was stolen from her tomb 1,000 years ago.
And probably stolen from the museum 10 days ago. Very well, sir. Here's your $1.
Michael.
Sounds interesting, doesn't it, darling, to own a mummy's foot? A paperweight that moves under its own power. Come on, darling. Don't you feel a little sorry for poor Hymonthis? Losing a foot like that?
No, Michael, no. There's something horrible about that foot. Something we shouldn't have anything to do with. And he was so anxious to sell it to you after...
Come on, darling. Don't let your imagination run away with you. It couldn't really have moved. We just thought it did. You know, this will be a good story for Harry tonight over dinner. Where is it he's taking us? The Greystone?
I hardly felt the bitter cold outside as we walked away from the little shop. My only feeling was one of apprehension. I could still remember the horrible sensation I had as that little foot had squirmed in my hand. No matter how Michael might try to joke about it, I knew he was mystified too. And I knew that some compulsion other than his own had made him take the mummy's foot. It wasn't until after we had deposited the thing safely on Michael's desk and were having dinner in a brightly lighted restaurant that I began to feel better. Our host, Harry, was to be Michael's best man the next day, and he was no friend of both of us. As Michael told Harry the story, the horror of it seemed a little foolish, as such things will when you're in gay public places.
And the funny part of it was, Harry, that if it hadn't been for such a tiny foot, you might have sworn that it belonged to the shopkeeper himself. He looked enough like an Egyptian mummy to be one.
Well, I'm surprised that Eleanor let you buy it at all. It doesn't sound like a very pleasant thing to have around.
I couldn't talk him out of it, Harry. I believe he was enchanted.
Enchanted by an Egyptian and a mummy at that. Michael always was quite a Don Juan, or should I say quite an Antony. Hey, there's a little bit of something I'd wrap up and take home, mummy or not.
Well, where, Harry?
Oh, see? He's interested already. You're right, Harry. I believe he is a Don Juan.
Say, not bad.
Oh, where is she?
Right over there to my left. You can't see her very well, Eleanor, but she's really something. All dressed up in a long white dress and has on an emerald bracelet. And what eyes. Oh, my.
Yes, I can see her in that mirror over there. But look how she's watching Michael. Harry, I don't like it.
Don't worry, Eleanor. We'll get him to that altar tomorrow if we have to hog-tie it.
Well, she's... I feel as though I'd seen her before somewhere. In a dream. Somewhere. Something terrible. Something that makes me feel afraid of her.
Nightmare, no doubt.
You know, she must have passed right close to our table when she came in. I can smell her perfume.
Oh, you know it's hers.
Well, it smells sort of Egyptian, you know, and she looks Egyptian.
Egyptian? Michael, that perfume, it's the same.
Same as what, darling?
The same perfume I smelled on that mummy's foot this afternoon.
What an imagination.
Eleanor, darling, you look so serious. Don't be so afraid of silly things like this. There's nothing wrong, nothing at all.
But there is, Michael. I can feel something wrong in the very air.
What sort of thing?
I don't know, Michael. Something horrible. An awful premonition.
What can happen as long as we have each other, darling?
I don't know, Michael. Nothing really, I suppose. Nothing natural. But what if there were ghosts? The spirits of the dead around. Suppose for some reason they wanted one of us.
Eleanor, darling, don't get so worked up. Those aren't things to think about. Especially on the night before our wedding. Look, here we are in a brightly lighted restaurant, and you're talking about things that belong to dark houses and cobwebby attics. Things that can't touch us here.
You're talking as though you do believe those things exist, though.
Now, look here, you two. I'm sorry if I brought up a delicate subject when I mentioned that woman over there.
It isn't that at all, Harry. It's just that, well, Eleanor and I, after this afternoon, I guess we're both rather worked up.
Michael, I'm really frightened. woman. She keeps watching us so strangely. What if...
Oh, my darling, let's forget about her. Let's forget about everything but ourselves for tonight. Just think, tomorrow we'll be married. It'll be the beginning of a new life. A life together. And the carrying on of an old one, too.
And never forget, dearest, if anything should happen, I'll always be there when you want me.
I love you, Eleanor.
Always, Michael. You'll never have to call for me. I'll be there.
I will, too, darling. Always. Nothing can ever come between us and tear us apart. Nothing. I swear it.
Can you be so sure?
Michael!
Didn't mean to startle you so much. It was just that I couldn't help noticing that you had noticed me.
Well, I'll be... Michael, you're a better Don Juan than I thought you were at that. It's the lady with the emerald bracelet.
Yes, it is Michael, as you call him, who attracts me here.
I beg your pardon.
You don't mind if I sit down, do you?
Well...
Yeah, that's better. You see, love is an especial study of mine. And this love that you think you have now, it's very interesting to me. Yes, very interesting.
Michael,
Sit still, darling. Don't leave now.
Hold my hand tight.
You've guessed right, you people. I am an Egyptian. And being an Egyptian, my looks are rather different, shall I say, from yours.
Nice difference, though, madam.
Mademoiselle, if you please. The women of my country have great beauty in the eyes of you Western men. Yes. So you two think yourselves in love.
Very much in love.
Well, who can say what love is, unless they've felt it through centuries?
I know what love is. It's growing together, being a part of the one you love. Why, Michael and I have grown up together, loved each other for years, 15 years at least.
15 years? Nothing. What if it had lasted 30 centuries?
That's ridiculous.
Is it? Well, my little one, we shall see. There is a love which has lasted that long. And almost it is consummated. Perhaps tonight.
Tonight?
Think of it, Michael.
Michael.
And this little love of yours, 15 years. It will be no more. For it is I who have loved through 30 centuries. We cannot talk of that here, can we, Michael?
Well, why do you ask me that question?
Because it affects you. You more than anyone else. As for you, Eleanor, not you nor anyone else can interfere.
Michael, send her away.
No one can send me away. That would be like trying to send the very air out of this room.
Who are you?
I'm a woman of Egypt.
What is your name?
Name? What is a name except a tag for the living? My name is Hermonthis.
Hermonthis?
Just a name like any other. I'll leave you now. But I will see you again.
Hermonthis.
What's wrong with that?
That was the name of the princess. The mummies who Michael bought.
It's a coincidence, Eleanor. It must be.
It seems as though there's a dreadful net stretched around us, coming closer and closer. Oh, Michael, ever since you saw that foot, you seem to have done everything you could to put yourself in his power. Why did you buy it? Why did you?
Power in a mummy's foot.
Look. She's waving back at us. She's waving as though she wants me to go away. And she's pointing at you. Michael, no one else seems to see her at all.
Now, forget about her, Eleanor. Forget her. She's crazy.
No. Look. Michael, Harry, look.
What?
Look how she's walking. She limps. Almost as though one of her feet was missing. Michael even tried to laugh at my noticing that horrible limp. But I could see that he was wondering, too. Perhaps something distant, something dimly remembered, had begun to come into his mind, and he was rejecting it forcibly. It was later, much later, when I was in bed, but I knew Michael was in danger. I wanted to get up, but I couldn't. I struggled and tried to force myself out of bed, but I couldn't move a muscle. Finally, after what seemed hours, it seemed as though I was in the deepest sleep. But everything about me was very clear. Perhaps I had got up after all, for it seemed all at once that I was in Michael's room, and she was there talking to him. His eyes were open, but he didn't seem afraid. He seemed almost hypnotized. I stayed invisible, back in the shadows.
Centuries ago, Michael, I took the life of the woman you loved so that you might be free to love me. I, the daughter of the Pharaoh, went on my knees to you then. But now the secrets of the universe are open to me, and it's you who must obey.
How did this happen to me? I don't understand.
The shopkeeper knew the legend, and he feared it. He didn't know why, but he knew that in whose hand the mummy's foot moved, to him must he sell it.
But how could you come back?
For murdering, I was condemned. Condemned to wander in eternity, scorned and barred from the regions of rest. But in the centuries that have passed, I've discovered the secret of returning. That if some token, some real part of myself were left among the living, I could return for it. I could come back.
And the token?
It had to carry with it some real essence, some true part of myself. And then, 1,000 years ago, that foot was stolen from me. I waited and waited, for I knew that sometime that would lead me to you.
But I'm not the same man. I'm not the man you loved. I'm here now, alive.
Do you think that I've watched the progression of lives through eternity with no purpose? No, Michael. You are the man, though you don't remember. You have the same life. You have only a different body. You have the same honest and beautiful soul you had then. It's your life, Michael. Your life and your soul. That's what I'll take with me. I couldn't hold you before, but I can take you now. Come, Michael. I do not need to touch you now, but it's better if you take my hand. We have a long journey to make.
Go away. No. Oh, if I could only move, if I could get up, if I could do something. What's holding me?
The journey's long, Michael, and we must hurry. If I must force you, I must.
Leave me alone. I won't come. I won't. I can move. I can move. Let me. I'm almost out of bed. I'm almost standing.
You've moved only a little with all your struggle, Michael. Here, I'll only touch you again and you'll be better.
No. Oh, I'm so dizzy. So weak.
You'll come now, won't you, Michael?
I can do nothing else. Yes, I'll come.
As Michael fell to the floor beside his bed, something caught my eye. A little shiny thing hung on a chain around his neck. It was a silver charm I'd given him, engraved with my name. But he loved it and wore it always. Seeing it there somehow gave me hope. I had no way to get it. I wanted to, for it might be the means of his return. But how could I? I didn't dare even show myself. Suddenly we seemed to be in great darkness, speeding through nothingness.
Where are we?
We're on our journey, Michael. We're passing through the absolute, the period between time and space. It's the only channel through which a spirit can return to the lands of the living in his own body.
It's horrible, horrible.
We've flown through the liquid parts, the parts that are without light, past the half-formed shapes of those already dead and those as yet unborn. See, we're here already.
Where? This is a lonely place. Cold hills and deserts all around us.
This is the place where my body was buried. Deep inside this mountain, Michael. See? We're inside. Deep down in the earth. Sealed in with a great stone. This is our home, Michael. Where we'll be through eternity.
Sealed in a tomb? No. Never. Let me out. Let me out.
Shouting will do you no good, Michael. Here is where no man ever comes, into these tombs. In the thousands of years we will be here, Michael. Your span of life will pass again, but we'll always be together.
I will get out.
Never, Michael. You've left nothing behind in the world of the living that is strong enough a part of you to take you back.
Eleanor is strong enough. She's a part of me.
Your love for Eleanor is strong, Michael, yes. But it's not enough. For love or hate can only take your spirit back to the land of the living. Your spirit alone without your body. And would a disembodied spirit be any comfort to Eleanor?
But Eleanor is a part of me.
No, Michael. For your body to return, you would have to have left a material possession behind. A material thing is needed to take back your material body. Some material thing that represents your love would be strong enough.
But I must have left something. Something.
The one thing that possesses all those requirements, Michael, is that charm you're wearing around your neck.
The charm. Yes, that's part of me and part of Eleanor, too. That will be strong enough.
But you see, Michael, that's here with us.
I'll throw it. I'll throw it into the darkness there at the far end of this place. Maybe it'll go back. Maybe it'll find its way back to her.
No, Michael, no. Nothing can find its way back. It must be taken.
But your foot, that's still there. We can go back through that. You left that behind.
I will go back, Michael. Alone. Yes, I'll make one more journey back, Michael. And then we'll be here together forever. Here. Here, to take the place of that which you have thrown away, take this ornament. It will remind you of me while I'm away.
No, Moses. Come back. I'm going with you. Let me out. Let me out. Let me out.
But Amanthus had gone. Already she had disappeared into the shadows. And Michael, still clutching the little green plaster ornament she'd given him, beat helplessly at the stone walls of his ancient prison tomb and shouted vainly for help. I kept watching the little silver charm he had thrown into the darkness, and still I struggled against nightmare forces to get it. And suddenly I knew I'd won. I could reach for it. I could feel it. I had it at last in my possession. After that, everything was blackness. A flash of light that was the morning sun brought me back to consciousness. My relief was tremendous. I felt that I'd thrown off a great weight when I found myself safely in bed. Oh, there was someone knocking on my door.
Miss Eleanor! Miss Eleanor!
Oh, yes? Who is it?
Mr. Bays, your superintendent. You asked me to call you. It's late already.
What? Who? Where am I?
Come now, it's past 10 and you must be up. It's your wedding day, you know.
My wedding day? All right, Mr. Bays, thank you.
Why, what is it? Is anything wrong?
It was there. There in my hand. I felt it first and was afraid to look at it. When I looked, it was. Yes, the silver charm.
What's happened, Miss Eleanor? Can I help?
Then it hadn't been a dream after all. Somehow, by some unaccountable mesmeric force, I must have left my bed and gone through all those horrible experiences. But they weren't real. They were things of another world. And Michael. What about Michael? I kept the charm in my hand as I dressed and ran out into the streets. As I ran through the crowds, I kept murmuring to myself, almost as though it was a prayer. Let him be there. Oh, please let him be there. Even as fast as I ran, someone caught up with me. A hand was placed on my arm and held me back.
Eleanor, what's the matter?
Let me go. Let me go. Don't try to stop me.
Eleanor, it's Harry.
Oh.
Don't you even know me?
Oh, Harry. Harry, thank heaven it's you. Come quickly. We flew across town in a taxi. I'd been too excited to think of that before. Everything was still too weird. At last, we were at Michael's. But when we reached his door, he didn't answer.
Hey, Michael.
He isn't there. Oh, Harry, he isn't there.
He isn't. He'll be back in a minute.
Open the door, Harry. Go in quickly. We may be too late.
Boy, he's really sound asleep. Look, he even fell out of bed and didn't wake up. Oh, he's all right. Just asleep.
I hope so. Michael. Michael. Oh, help me, Harry, help me. I brought him back this far, but we have to wake him up. We have to. If we don't now, he may never wake up again.
Come on, old man. Wake up. Hey.
Don't shake him that way, Harry. Here, let me. Michael. Michael, my darling, come back. Come back. Let me put this in your hand so you'll know it's really here.
This charm, Michael. Our charm. See? I brought it with me. Harry, the foot. Give me the foot. Is it still on the desk there?
Well, it ought to be, unless it's walked off by itself.
Oh, don't say that, Harry.
On the desk, did you say? I don't see it here.
And she did get it. Oh, Michael. Michael.
Eleanor. Oh. Eleanor, it is you.
Michael, my darling, you've come back. We're safe. The foot's gone, but look, there in your hand.
It's
a little green plaster ornament.
Then it wasn't a dream. But those things, how can such things be?
We'll never understand, Michael, never. How a force can be so powerful, so horrible. It's better not to understand.
But Eleanor, she can come back. Her body can come back. The ornament, that might be her power now.
Give it to me, Michael.
What are you going to do?
I'll crush it. I'll destroy it. I'll make powder of it. She'll never come back through this. It's the end of her passport to the land of the living.
Eleanor, what's that? Look, there on the floor, the powder from that ornament. It's formed itself into the print of a tiny foot.
From the time-worn pages of the past, we have brought you the story, The Possessive Dead. Bellkeeper, toll the bell. Out of the past, phantoms of a world gone by, speak again the immortal tale, The Shadow. It is in the hot lands that the sun burns. All sensible folk stay within doors. Windows and shutters are closed the whole day, and it looks as though the houses in the city sleep. But in the evening, the town comes to life. It is lively up and down the streets, and to visitors from Northlands, like Kurt Van Anders and Peter Vroom, watching from their balconies, the Orient is a wonderful spectacle.
Kurt, come in off the balcony.
All right, Peter.
Sit down.
Oh, but the fun's just starting outside.
Sit down, my boy. I want to talk to you.
Well, if you're going to take that tone, all right.
Tell me, who am I?
Who are you? Oh, it's to be a catechism, is it? Very well. You are the Honorable Peter Vroom, tutor extraordinary to Baron Kurt Van Anders.
And who is the Baron Kurt Van Anders?
Why, I am.
And you must not take amiss what I say to you now. For I speak not as friend to friend, but as teacher to pupil.
Oh, so that's why my father sent you after me.
Baron Van Anders, you were promised a year of travel alone for the purpose of completing your education, broadening your viewpoint, and acquiring the degree of sophistication requisite in our Danish society.
I won't go home. I've only had 6 months.
Which you have spent idling in this unwholesome city. Baron, your father is not pleased with us. Consequently, I bring orders that you're to return home at once.
Are you finished, Mynheer?
I am finished.
Well, then let us speak as friends again. Peter, I can't come home yet.
Why on earth not?
Because of that voice.
What voice?
Don't you hear it? Listen. A woman singing. She sings every night at this hour in the house across the street. Oh, she has a lovely voice. An exquisite voice.
Kurt, this does not make sense.
Well, not to you, Peter, because you are old, but I am young. And I am caught on the threads of that lovely voice like a fish in a net. And I will not leave until I've seen her.
Then look. Step to the balcony and look into her window.
I've tried. I can never see her. Oh, Peter, my friend, she has a lovely voice. A magic voice. It's It's like our northern stars that fill the heart with unquenchable yearning. I would give anything to see her. She's stopped now.
It's just as well. Now come to bed, my boy, and forget this romantic nonsense. We've packing to do in the morning. We must leave for Denmark before nightfall.
Well, if those are my grim old father's orders, I suppose I'll have to. But it's hard to leave this mystery behind. Oh, if I could only see her just once.
Why not let your shadow see her?
Oh, don't play the fool with me, Peter.
I assure you I'm not. Have you forgotten the old Danish belief that what your shadow sees by day is what you dream by night?
Why, that's right. I had forgotten.
Here, stand here. That's it. See? The lamp hurls your shadow across the street into that room. Turn your head a little.
All right.
Your shadow must look around the room. It will see her. And tonight, you will see her face in your dreams.
Peter! Peter, Oh.
Kurt! In the name of heaven, Kurt, what is it?
Oh, you have eyes, man. Look! My shadow is gone.
Impossible.
Well, then where is it? Tell me. Point it out to me. Peter, turn up that lamp. There, now. Now, where is my shadow? Step aside, Peter. Let there be no mistake about this.
All right, my boy. You'll see it's all imagination.
Now, then. Look. Well?
I don't know what to say.
Peter Vroom, tutor to the Baron von Anders, Master of Arts, Doctor of Philosophy. Out of the depths of your scholarship, explain.
I cannot.
Well, then so much for science and philosophy. Then I'll tell you where my shadow is. It's across the street in a white house with emerald shutters, held by a harpy who sings with all the guile of a spider. And it's to her web I go now. What I have, I keep. And I want my shadow back. I want my shadow back. Open up in there. Open up! You thieves! Harpy spiders! Open up, you shadow stealers! Open this door! Open this door, thieves. It is Baron von Anders calling you to account. This is no sheep to be slaughtered in silence and safety. Open up! Yes? You're the woman who sings. You're the woman who stole my shadow.
Yes, my friend, I am. Come, let us go inside. This way, Baron.
Who are you? What kind of a house is this?
I am called the Gray Spinner. And this house is the House of Tapestries. Sit down, Baron.
I don't think I understand.
Not many do, Baron von Anders.
What do you do here?
We spin, my friend. I and my two sisters. We spin lives from gray threads. Small gray threads. The web your shadow was made of.
My shadow?
You have come to claim it. I know. You are too late. We have already woven your shadow.
You have what?
It is an art we practice. To take the thin gray shadows and spin them into living, breathing beings. A fine, exquisite art, my dear Baron. But we are expert artists. There are thousands of our shadow people walking your earth, born of no woman, owing their lives to us.
I don't believe you.
But it is true, my friend. Half the people in this world, half the people you see, half your friends are mere living shadows, spun gray shadows woven by us, the three gray spinners.
I want my shadow back. You have no right.
You cannot have your shadow, my friend. He is a free man. You cannot control him. But beware, Baron, beware. For your end and your shadow's end will be the same. The same end at the same time, Baron.
In the far northern countries, the little sun that is seen gives forth a pale, watery light that shows hardly any shadows at all. One does not notice shadows in the Northlands. One would not notice a man who had no shadow. But a man without a shadow doesn't realize this. He believes all eyes spy out his secret, and like a harried beast lurks in darkness, nursing his fears.
Kurt! Hang it, it's pitch dark in here. But I'll swear this is the place. I know it was him I followed. I know he came into this apartment. Kurt!
Oh, all right, Peter. I suppose I might as well give in. You found me.
Kurt, then it was you.
Yes, it was me. One moment, I've got my tinderbox here. I'll light a candle. I don't usually keep a light going. Naturally, you understand why. Here we are.
Kurt, you fool, you fool.
All right, Peter, you found me. Now, don't lecture me.
But to come home with me and then give me the slip right here in Königsberg, to hide for a year, a whole year, and in a hovel like this, my boy, you're insane.
You know I'm not, Peter. A man without a shadow doesn't expose himself.
But what have you been doing for a year?
Looking for a gray lady, a gray spinner, a lady who perhaps might spin me a new shadow.
Shadow, it's warped your mind. Oh, my boy, how could you do this to me and to your father?
How is it with you, Peter?
How can you ask? You must know. I've been dismissed by your father for losing you. My reputation blasted, my career, my life ended. I've spent a year searching for you. Searching and hoping.
That's really very funny, Peter. I've been looking for a shadow without a man, and you for a man without a shadow.
But now that I found you, all will be well again. You'll come with me to your father. I shall be reinstated. We'll make up a story about tropical fever, eh? Loss of mind. All will be well again. You'll
No,
see.
Peter.
You mean you want a different excuse for vanishing?
I mean I'm not going back.
Not going back?
How can I? How can a man without a shadow ever dare appear anywhere? You know how they stoned me in the streets of that city? You remember how we were attacked at every stop on the way home? Wherever I showed myself.
But this is home. You're safe here,
Kurt. A man without a shadow is safe nowhere. I will not leave this place except at night. And I will not go to my father's house.
I'm going to tell your father where you are. I'm going to tell him why you're here. That you're insane. I'm going to
You tell him nothing.
What? No!
You blind, blundering fool. You'd sell me for a fine, fat job, eh?
No, good. No, in heaven's name.
Listen to me, fool. Listen. Listen while you can still hear. I've nothing left. Money, friends, clothes, even shadow. But 2 hands and courage I have. And with them I fight for what I want. Always. It's the door. Someone there. Peter's body. I've got to hide it, but where?
Pardon. I took the liberty. You are Baron Kurt von Anders? Pardon again. I did not see you had company. But you are Baron von Anders.
Yes,
That man is dead? Yes?
Yes.
You have just strangled him, Baron, eh? I see the white finger marks on the throat turning red. He died quite recently, hmm?
Yes.
That is very funny. While I entered, his life fled.
Who are you?
Ah, it is as I expected. You do not recognize me, Baron.
No. You're not of the police.
No. It is not my business that you are a murderer.
Then who are you?
Oh, come now. Can you not guess? I've been an old friend of yours for 20 years. We grew up together, my dear Baron. And yet, you do not recognize me.
In heaven's name, who are you?
I am your shadow.
They tell a tale in the far northern countries where this story takes place, that once a man standing before a mirror slipped and fell through the glass, and so met himself in the flesh, face to face. Whereupon he screamed in terror, because the face he saw was so ugly. No, it is not pleasant anywhere to meet and speak with a part of yourself, especially if that part be your shadow.
You are surprised, my dear Baron, eh? What did you expect? Sooner or later, your shadow had to return, eh?
This is impossible. I don't believe it. You are flesh and blood, alive.
Ah, yes. The gray women spin well on the looms. Yes, I'm alive, flesh and blood. Well woven, so to speak.
And you are no longer a shadow. My shadow.
I am nobody's shadow. I am a prince. A prince of Samarkand.
A prince?
Not by heredity, you understand, but by something better. A prince by conquest, dear Baron. Ah, yes. I've had many adventures during this year. I will tell them to you someday.
What brings you north to Denmark?
It's a strange mission, my friend, and I shall ask your advice, but later. Now, what about yourself? It isn't that wise to murder, you know. They hang murderers. What are you to do?
I must escape somehow.
Escape, yes. Very good. You have money still? You'll pardon me. I can't help asking. These chambers so very poor and ugly.
No, I have no money. I have nothing left since I lost you.
I will help you escape if you will render me a very small service in return.
What service?
I have come north on an import takes me to the court of Maria, Countess of Heligo. You know the name. The lands are in Finland?
No.
Strange, Baron. Your own family is powerful in Denmark. Your acquaintance is large in the northern countries.
I've never heard of her. She's some imposter, some deceiver. There is no Countess Maria of Heligo.
And we shall see. But for now, my predicament is this. You see, I have no shadow.
No shadow?
But how could I? The gray ladies weave well, but even they cannot spin a shadow for a shadow.
True.
And so, I will help you escape if you will... Oh, no, this is embarrassing. How can I ask it of you?
Ask what you will. I am a desperate man by this killing.
Then, will you come away with me to Finland? I will protect you, feed you, clothe you, and ask only a small thing in return.
What thing?
That you be my shadow.
Prince of Samarkand, this is the final irony of the gray spinner. So the shadow shall be the master, and the master the shadow.
But you must remember, my friend, it is you who are the shadow. Let me trouble you to remember that, lest I remember to mention a certain killing to the gods of Denmark.
No, you would not.
But you believe I would, eh? And you are right. One does not become Prince of Samarkand through squeamishness. It would be wise to keep that in mind.
I will remember. Only answer me one question in return. Why did you save me from death when I am the one person who can betray your secret? Why?
It was mercy, my shadow.
No, it was something else.
It was mercy.
Enter, Prince, and welcome to Heligo.
My companion will wait outside.
Very well.
I am pleased to greet you after these many months of letters, Prince.
My dear Countess Maria, I've been looking forward to this meeting ever since we reached our delightful agreement. I can only say the beauty of your letters has been but a pale reflection of your own charm.
Not so fast, my friend. You must answer one question for me.
Yes?
Why do you not cast a shadow?
We of the far south are sorcerers. I've had my shadow trimmed up into a man. You saw him just outside the door.
This is most unusual, Prince of Magic.
And it is really a delightful joke. For my shadow is so proud of passing himself off as a man that if he is to be kept in a proper humor, he must be treated quite like a man.
I like that. I have met many princes, but you are the first ever to be original about your shadow. Yes, I think I shall like you more and more, Prince of Samarkand. Prince of Magicians.
Then I shall hope more, Your Grace.
Do not waste too many moments in hoping. It will be a good marriage, my friend. A splendid matching of north and south.
Ah, dear lady.
No. Now go first to your suite. You are wearied with much traveling. There will be a banquet tonight. Go. You must rest. You and your man-shadow. In 2 hours, my friend.
In 2 hours.
Well, is your business finished? Can we leave now?
Listen, my good friend. You will listen closely, eh? I have now become as happy and mighty as anyone can be. I will therefore do something particular for you.
What? You can give me back my shadow?
You shall always live with me in the palace. Drive with me in the royal carriage. Have 10,000 gold pieces a year. Then you must submit to be called Shadow by all and everyone.
No.
You must not say you have ever been a man. And once a year, when I sit on the balcony in the sunshine, you must lie at my feet as a shadow should do.
Never. You ask too high a price for your blood money.
I must tell you, I'm going to marry the Countess.
No. This is not right. I will not have it. And I will not do it. You will deceive the whole country and the Countess, too. All right, I will tell everything. That I am a man and that you are my shadow.
Fool! Who would believe you? Be reasonable, or I will call the guard.
Get out of the way. I'm going to the Countess.
You're a fool. A man with a price on your head. You cannot.
Get out of the way.
But I say...
Prince.
Your Grace.
You're trembling. Has something happened? What was that noise?
Countess,
I have lived to see the most cruel thing that anyone could see. What a pity. His poor shadow brain could not bear the strain.
What is it? What are you saying?
My shadow has turned mad. He thinks he is a man, and I am his shadow.
Poor shadow.
I'm afraid he will never recover. I shall have to keep him confined forever. Guard, take him to his room and chain him.
No.
That was not just of you, Prince of Magicians, to take a common shadow and work your enchantments on him. Small wonder he's gone mad.
Perhaps.
You must never play these tricks again. Now, I think it would be a real act of charity to deliver your shadow of the little illusory life he has.
Oh, no.
Yes. When I think the matter over, I'm convinced it will be necessary to do away with him quietly.
No, you must not. I forbid it.
No man forbids me anything in my own court, my friend. We will talk of it by and by at the banquet. But rest assured, your shadow must die. Your shadow, Prince, must die. As you all see, at my right sits the noble Prince of Samarkand, noble cousin from the far south who has journeyed many thousands of leagues to our court.
Your Grace.
One moment, my dear.
I must speak to you. I've not had the chance all evening. I must speak about my shadow.
He will be taken care of, I've promised.
No.
To some of you, the purpose of this visit is a mystery. To a few others, it is perhaps known. Now I shall make the truth known to all.
Cousin, listen to me, I beg you.
What is it?
You must not harm my shadow.
He will not be harmed, my dear. I have promised his little life will be taken. Nothing more. No torture. No pain.
But you cannot take his life.
Cannot in my own castle, Prince? No. It is a lesson you must learn for the future. At this moment, they will be bringing the headsman to his cell.
I beg you, no. I beg you. Great heaven. I can feel the fingers of death chilling my heart even now.
You are oversensitive. We must harden you a little with our northern frost.
Creeps to my throat. Can you do nothing to save me? Stop the death. I beg you.
Prince.
I did not tell him. I did not dare lay my life in his hands. The gray spinner, she told me, when he dies, so must I die. How else could it be between master and shadow? My life linked to his, and now...
He is gone. In the twinkling of an eye, gone. Prince of Samarkand, Prince of Magicians. Nothing remains but an empty sack of clothes. Oh, it's over. The game is played and finished. Away, shadows, all of you. The play is ended. The man is dead and his shadow, too. This shadow castle will vanish and we must part and go our ways. But we have our little jest now. And we shall chuckle over it for a time. The 3 gray spinners will have a jest to while away the weary, immortal years, until the time comes to joke and laugh once more.
It is hot in the Southlands and cold in the north. The east winds blow chill, and the west winds sweet and soft. But north and south, east and west, the gray spinners weave the tapestry of some men's lives. Perhaps your own. From the time-worn pages of the past, we have brought you the immortal tale, The Shadow. Bellkeeper, toll the bell.
Weird circle. In this cave by the restless sea, we are met to call from out of the past stories, strange and weird. Bellkeeper, toll the bell, so that all may know we are gathered again in the Weird Circle.
Of the past, phantoms of a world gone by, speak again the immortal tale, The Bride of Death. This is the story of death, of a fearful prophecy fulfilled, of a love that could lead only to madness. The first ingredient was death, the cold, sharp steel bite of a Scottish claymore. In a narrow street in a town near Donachburn, an old, half-forgotten Highland feud had flared again. Death peers over the shoulders of three young clansmen as a force twice their number beats them back. Stop a moment and see which one he chooses.
We're badly outnumbered, my lord. Don't let them force you out. Keep your back against the wall. Watch out, watch out. Keep your sword up, Kenneth. We'll beat them off yet. The traitors cut out.
Oh, Kenneth, my lord, you're bleeding.
Death has chosen Kenneth, Earl of Dunbar, oldest son of the noble Scottish house. The shouted encouragements of his servant Bruce will not help him now. The tears of his younger brother Douglas come too late. Together these two carry the wounded man into the home of the Dominie. But the services of this holy man will not change the mind of death.
Come, my son. Let us leave the brothers alone. It's the least that we can do at this moment. You've been wounded in the service of your masters.
Oh, it's only a scratch, Dominie. I'd have died for either of them.
Each man must do his own dying. Even Kenneth, Earl of Dunbar. I believe the younger brother called you Bruce. We shall have to tear your sleeve, Bruce, to dress your arm.
can't believe it, sir. You don't know his lordship. He won't let himself die.
The clansmen who set upon you, were they from Black Donald's castle?
No, they'd be the last to attack us. That feud has long been over. Derek MacDonald's daughter, Lady Margaret, is to marry young Kenneth. We were on the way to the castle for the betrothal feast.
But the brothers have been away from Scotland most of their lives. The Earl of Dunbar and his bride-to-be can't have seen each other since they were children.
Yes, but it was all arranged by their families years ago. He was to meet his bride for the first time. Oh, you don't know how much it counts on this happiness, Dominic.
I think I do, Bruce. Did you hear the words he spoke to us before he lost consciousness?
You wouldn't find that strange if you knew Kenneth, sir. A man of iron will.
There was an uncanny look in his eyes as he said it. Living or dead, he said. He'd seek her out and have her for his own. Living or dead.
The death knell. He's...
Yes, Bruce. Your master is dead. The betrothal feast will never see its guest of honor. Why, my son, you're trembling.
Suddenly, Dominic, I'm afraid. You didn't know this man. I tell you it'll take more than death to stop Kenneth, Earl of Dunbar.
Nevertheless, death was the first ingredient. It was in the mind of Lady Margaret as a girl that the fearful prophecy was planted. But even today, neither her father nor her Aunt Mary know it is there. But it was the second ingredient. It was fear.
No, Father. You can't make me do it. I will not marry the Earl of Dunbar. I'll never marry anyone.
Young Kenneth is not just anyone, Margaret.
Please try to understand, Davok. Margaret's high-strung. She's been alone too much. And now this sudden plan of marriage to a man she's never seen.
That none of us have seen.
20 years ago, you and Kenneth Dunbar played together as children. His father, once the feud was over, became my best friend. We have followed closely his career on the continent.
A career of bloodshed and violence. A professional soldier. And now that he's returning to Scotland, you remember some absurd plan of the past to unite his clan and ours. You remember the Dunbar wealth.
Margaret, that's not fair to your father. All of us consider the Earl of Dunbar a fine match for you in many ways.
You've forgotten the stories of his fits of violence, his strange moods, his cruelty and overbearing willpower.
Gossip. Gossip in your overwrought imagination, Margaret. I have never intended to force you into this marriage.
Oh, Father, if you'd only...
I haven't finished, Margaret. I still don't intend to force you into it. The banquet this evening was arranged to, shall I say, bring you young people together. Let it rest at that. But of one thing I am determined. If you reject the Earl of Dunbar, young Kenneth, you shall have no other husband while I live.
Thank you, Father. Thank you.
The guests have already begun to arrive. The guest of honor will be here before sundown. We both have duties to perform, Margaret.
Now that he's gone, come here and sit beside me.
I'm sorry I acted so silly, Aunt Mary. But if you only understood how I feel.
I think I do, dear. You're frightened.
I am. But not of young Kenneth Dunbar. It's grandfather's prophecy, Aunt Mary, that frightens me.
Nonsense. Black Donald may have been eccentric, but he couldn't foretell the future, Margaret.
And then there was the story that he'd made a bargain with death for being rescued from this room. And a prophecy of some kind that no one ever knew about.
And it's this superstitious nonsense that's been frightening you, Margaret?
It isn't nonsense, Aunt Mary. You see, I found the prophecy. It says, the last born of Black Donald's clan shall be the bride of death.
Oh, you poor child. To have been living in the shadow of that fear. And all on account of that crazy old man. The bride of death. Oh, don't look like that, Margaret. I can't imagine anyone more alive than Kenneth. You could hardly call the Earl of Dunbar a spectre bridegroom.
I know, and yet somehow I'm afraid. I'm terribly afraid.
There we have two ingredients. All we have to do is to mix them. Perhaps woven together in just the right pattern, they might create a dark tapestry of madness. Twilight has fallen over the wildness of the moors, and a soft wind moans through the trees in the garden back of the castle. Lady Margaret has slipped away from her guests,
Forgive me if I do not rise, Lady Margaret. I have traveled far to get here. I'm very tired.
Oh, I'm sorry I was so silly. But it was rather startling. I hadn't seen anyone come into the garden.
I came through the little gate at the far end.
But we never used that. I mean, I didn't know anyone knew of it except myself. It's all overgrown and with the moor beyond.
I remembered it from many years ago. My home once lay across the moor.
But then, why, of course. Oh, I should have seen the resemblance to your father. You're the Earl of Dunbar.
You're surprised, Margaret?
No. Somehow I knew you were my friend. But you're different in a way, Kenneth. Quieter, more gentle than I'd expected.
There is much that can change a man, Margaret. But you're just as I pictured you. Dreamed of you through the years. Lovely, gracious. A warm heart to welcome me home. At last.
Perhaps. Don't you think we'd better go in, Kenneth?
Oh, you're shivering, Margaret. Are you cold?
No, it isn't that, Kenneth. I just happened to think of something. Perhaps you remember my grandfather.
Black Dawn? What Highlander doesn't? That might be he coming down the path this moment.
That's my father, Kenneth. Sir Davik MacDonald. I'm afraid he's going to be angry at you for appearing like a ghost out of nowhere.
His anger cannot reach me, Margaret. I'm beyond all human emotion now, except my love for you. To have found you at last, that's all that's left. I haven't time for words, but you feel it too. I know you do. Nothing can separate us, Margaret. Not even death.
Welcome to Blackdonald Castle, my lord. I had almost given you up.
You see, Father, Kenneth slipped in by the back way. I happened to see him here.
I know, Margaret. Your servant told me I'd find you here, Kenneth. The man is strangely frightened.
Bruce has had a trying day, Sir Davik. We both have. I hope you'll excuse us early.
Nonsense, my boy. You'll spend the night here. Now come along. My guests are anxious to meet you. Your fame has preceded you to Cairn Nagasha.
Even so, it has come too late.
What's the matter, Kenneth? You're not well.
Do look a trifle pale, my boy.
It's nothing, Sir Davik. A recent wound. I lost a lot of blood. Margaret, please stay near me. My time is short.
But time is not an ingredient, nor space. One evening may be an eternity, or it may only be a fraction of a fraction, when love awaits the tolling of the midnight bell.
Oh, there you are, Davik. I've been looking for you. It's nearly midnight and the guests are expecting a toast to the Earl of Dunbar.
Mary, I don't understand that young man's behavior. All evening he's avoided me.
He's avoided everyone, Davik, except Margaret. I don't think his eyes have left her face all evening.
It's very strange. I have an uncanny feeling he means her harm. Mary, do you think I've made a mistake? My daughter and a man we know nothing of?
I've never seen Margaret look so happy, Davik, and this in spite of the fear she's carried.
Clan or no clan, I've a good mind to put a stop to the whole affair. I've been too hasty. A Highlander for a son, not a pale-faced imitation, no matter how noble his family. Let no one say MacDonald gave his daughter to be the bride of a bloodless ghost of a man.
The bride of death.
Oh, for heaven's sake, pull yourself together, woman. Our friends are staring at you.
Your daughter and the Earl of Dunbar, they're together in the courtyard now.
And what of that, Wallace?
His lordship has ordered his horse. He means to leave. And Sir Davik, he means to take Lady Margaret with him.
What? He avoids me like the plague, then seeks to take my daughter from me without so much as by your leave? Come, Wallace. Get my sword and bring your own as well. It seems the Donalds must once again teach the house of Dunbar its manners.
There he is, Sir Davik. Lady Margaret, too. The servant already mounted. Over there by the gate. See?
Is this the way the Earl of Dunbar repays the hospitality of the Donalds? To steal my daughter like a common thief?
But, Father, let me explain.
I'll brook no more interference of my wishes. Join your aunt and wait for me. And now, sir, what have you to say?
Only that I shall return and take your daughter with me.
By Black Donald, sir, that you'll never do. You and your henchmen shall know the anger of my clan from this day on.
The anger of the Donalds cannot reach me now, Sir Davik, nor any other human being, except your daughter's love. Oh, I must go. Before the final stroke of midnight, I must leave this place.
And it is well you do, young man. If you value your life.
I place no value on that which I no longer have, Sir Davok. Go tomorrow to the great kirk in the town, and you shall understand my meaning.
You are mad. The same madness that claimed your father.
It is not madness that has claimed me, Sir Davok. It is death.
All the ingredients have gone into our story but one. The fear in the mind of Lady Margaret is a result of Black Donald's prophecy that the last born of his line would be the bride of death. The fulfillment of this dire foreboding seemed close at hand when her promised bridegroom, Kenneth, Earl of Dunbar, was stabbed to death on the day of his betrothal feast. Had this been known to Margaret, his first appearance before her might have brought madness with it. Instead, it added the ingredient of love. But now Sir Davok MacDonald, Margaret's father, has added the most potent ingredient of all. His anger at his noble guest's behavior brought forth truth, always a dangerous ingredient. To Black Donald Castle, it has brought terror and the dark suspicion that the spectre bridegroom will return to claim his bride.
Lady Mary, is there no change in her condition? She hardly looks alive.
No, Davok. None of your doctors have been able to rouse her. From midnight last and all through the day I've been by her side, here in her bedchamber. She hasn't moved or spoken.
The events of last night have affected her mind, Mary. I wish I'd never heard of the House of Dunbar. If this ghastly story is true...
If, Davok. In your mind, you're as sure as I am that we entertained a ghost last night. Else why should Wallace have ridden to town for you this morning?
It's time he returned.
Deep in your heart, you know the fear of all of us who love Margaret. I could see it in your eyes when you returned from the courtyard last night to blurt out that awful story before your guests.
It was a mistake, I admit it, Mary. But how was I to know that Margaret had discovered Black Donald's prophecy? How was I to know her horror of being the bride of death?
You should never have promised her to a man we hadn't seen. You knew the reputation of Kenneth Dunbar. A strange, wild Highlander with an iron will that has given him life even in death. And now his threat to take her with him.
Quiet, woman. Kenneth, Earl of Dunbar, shall go back to his grave without her. The Donalds fear no man, living or dead.
Sir Davok!
Wallace, come in quickly. What have you found?
But Lady Margaret, sir, I do not want to frighten her again.
She can neither see nor hear you, Wallace. But you do not need to speak. I can read the answer in your face. We heard the truth from the lips of a dead man last night.
It is true, Sir Davok. His lordship was killed while on his way to the castle. I could not even get near the kirk. Clansmen from the hills have poured into town to view his body as it lies in state.
Hannah. Hush, Margaret. Don't be frightened. No harm shall come to you.
Watch over her well, Mary. It may be that she will awaken soon. I must decide what shall be done. Come, Wallace. We have much to think of.
Kenneth. Margaret, child, try to hear me. This evil thing will never reach you. I shall watch over you. Try to forget your fears. Forget all about the Earl of Dunbar.
She has no fear of me, Lady Mary.
You... Oh, no. No, it can't be. How...
I came from the balcony, Lady Mary. Please do not be afraid. Don't move away.
No. No, you shan't have her. Never. I... Oh.
Kenneth, you've come back for me.
Yes, Margaret, as I promised. But the time has not yet come. You are ill. We must wait a little while.
But you will come back for me?
Very soon, my darling. Through the fears of those about you, through the dark prophecies of the past, I'll come. You're not afraid?
My fear was only that you'd left me, Kenneth. There are no words that matter anymore. I only know that I love you, that you're unhappy, that you need me.
We shall be together soon. Come.
Sleep now, and know that from wind-swept moors outside your window, I shall be watching over you.
The ingredients of life do not always mix as you expect them to. The poison of fear can often be cleared away by the potency of love. But the clansmen of Lady Margaret had no such protection as they looked upon the powerful ingredient of truth. Within the great stone walls of Blackdonald Castle, the terror of the spectre bridegroom grew as the days went by. One night, as the wind lashed the rain across the moors and rattled the ancient casements in the great hall, Sir Davik paced uneasily before the fire.
In the name of heaven, Wallace, come away from that window. There's nothing to see. Warm yourself here by the fire.
It's a fearful night, Sir Davik. It's in my mind that the spectre bridegroom may be abroad again.
Watching won't keep him away. Nor guards either, for that matter. Did Lady Mary tell you that one of my men saw the black figure climbing down the vines beneath Margaret's window?
Aye, and that he vanished before his very eyes. It's common talk throughout the castle.
They think of nothing else, Wallace. I swear it's like living with people who have lost their minds.
It's Lady Margaret's health that concerns me, Sir Davik. She will not eat. She will talk to no one. She spends her days and half her nights watching from a window overlooking the garden.
You waste your breath telling me these things, Wallace. I know what's in your mind only too well. You think my daughter is mad, that she has come to think of herself as the bride of death.
I do, Sir Davik. As well as I love the Lady Margaret, I've seen the light in her eyes. It isn't fear, I swear. The lass is waiting for this dead man, this Earl of Dunbar, to return.
Wallace, you're one of my most faithful henchmen, but you're as bad as the rest. This talk is driving me daft. Go back to your window if you must, but hold your tongue.
Davik.
What is it, Mary? Is Margaret all right?
She's gone, Davik. Vanished. Her room is empty.
I thought I told you to lock her in at night.
A few minutes ago, she called for me and asked for a glass of water. I left the door unlocked to fetch it, and when I came back, she was no longer there. The spectre bridegroom has come for her.
Quiet, woman. She's not well. She may have wandered alone out into the storm. Wallace, call out the guard and have horses saddled for all. We'll search every crag, every inch of the moor, every road until my daughter is found. I'll have her back, though I feel the dead hands of Kenneth Dunbar at my throat. Hold, Wallace. Look yonder. You see that faint light glimmering through the rain?
It's from some house, Sir Davik. Come, the men have already turned off. We must hurry.
No, Wallace. That's no house. I wonder I didn't think of it before. It is there that we shall find Lady Margaret. I pray we're still in time.
I think we're in the neighborhood of Dunbar Castle, Sir Davik, but not near enough to see a light.
True. But we're close upon the ancient chapel of the family built centuries ago.
That gloomy place has been sealed as long as I can remember. No one's been near for years.
You're mistaken. Within the week, the place has been occupied. You forget that Kenneth, Earl of Dunbar, was buried there. Come, Wallace. Leave the horses, Wallace. Hurry. I see the chapel door stands ajar.
This is not to my liking, Sir Davik. If I could get the men...
There's no time for that, you fool. Quickly now.
Look. Up front near the altar. Lady Margaret and the dead man.
And the dominie from the town kirk stands before them. His lips are moving. Perhaps he prays.
All the prayers in Scotland will not bring life to that bloodless youth.
We must stop this sacrilege. Follow close. Dominie, hold your blessing. You do not know the revolting blasphemy you commit.
You're too late, Father. We fear your anger no longer. There's nothing you can do to separate us now.
Margaret, if you think O'Donnell will stand by to see his daughter snatched from him by the hand of death...
MacDonald, please. In the name of the friendship you once bore my father...
There was no bargain that my daughter should be your bride in death.
Sir Davik, the night of the feast I was suffering in mind and body. I could not speak the news I bore.
You lie. At midnight, from your own bloodless lips, I heard...
Your unjust accusation drove me to it. Although I have loved Margaret from the beginning of memory, I was ready to say farewell.
Gentlemen, this is no place to fight with words or swords. If Sir Davik objects to this marriage...
Objects? Dominie, this man is dead. The Earl of Dunbar has sold his soul to the devil to come back from the grave.
Davik MacDonald, Earl of Dunbar, sleeps peacefully in the vault below us. His younger brother, Douglas, has just been joined in wedlock to your daughter.
What? Douglas? Douglas Dunbar?
I don't condone the false impression given you by the present Earl, nor do I condone the secret wooing of your daughter. But of his love, there is no doubt.
And I love him, Father. Even before I knew he wasn't Kenneth, I loved him. Nothing mattered. Even Black Donald's prophecy.
Douglas de la Mort.
That title, given by the Normans to the second sons of the House of Dunbar, has long been forgotten, Sir Davik. I ask your forgiveness for playing the role again.
I could not withhold it if I would. All this had to be, my son. Douglas de la Mort. Douglas of Death. Margaret was foreordained by Black Donald himself to be your bride. The bride of death.
Sometimes the ingredients of life seem to brew a dark and terrible potion. And yet there's always one final ingredient that's always there. Call it what you will. Luck, chance, fate. It is always there.
From the time-worn pages of the past, we have heard another immortal tale in The Weird Circle. Bellkeeper, toll the bell. Be here in this lonely cave by the restless sea once again next time for another immortal tale in The Weird Circle.
Phantoms of a world gone by speak again the immortal tale, The Haunted Hotel.
Venice is a beautiful city. Its climate is ideal, its buildings picturesque, its atmosphere charming. But I felt almost physically incapable of pleasure as the oarsman tied his gondola to the castle hotel mooring. For in my brain there was just one thought. It kept flying around and around like an imprisoned bat. Why is Philip dead? Why is Philip dead? And it was this that had brought me clear across an ocean to Venice.
Good evening, senor.
You have a reservation for Henry Westwick?
Yes, senor. It was you who requested the northeast room on the ground floor, was it not?
That's right, overlooking the canal.
You are lucky. In the very next mail, another American named Miss James asked for the same room.
Huh?
But, of course, you had the priority.
Oh, I'm Miss James. Does that mean I can't have room 14?
Sorry, Signorina, I am afraid so. Unless, of course, you can persuade Mr. Westwick to trade with you. Yours is number 15, next door to the young man here, but without a view of the canal.
You wouldn't like to exchange, would you, Mr. Westwick?
I wish I could be more gallant, Miss James, but I have a special reason for wanting 14.
Boy, yes. Take these bags, room 14 and 15. Just follow the page, senor, signorina.
Thank you.
A special reason? You sound so mysterious.
Well, as a matter of fact, I'm here to solve a mystery.
Really? Well, please tell me about it. Oh, that is, if you don't mind.
No, I think I'd like to, Miss James. Just to make up for not being able to switch rooms with you. 6 weeks ago, my brother married. It was very sudden. He'd met this Countess Nerona and her brother Rivar while traveling through Italy. Fallen deeply in love with her. And they came here to spend their honeymoon.
Oh, I thought the hotel opened just last week.
Oh, it did. This was formerly an old castle. Philip rented it for a month. He was scheduled to leave the day before remodeling began.
But something happened?
He was only here 2 weeks when he died.
How shocking.
Not only that, but when I wrote to his wife for more particulars, I got no reply. She and her brother seemed to have vanished off the face of the earth. It took me a month to wind up my business affairs, but I'm determined to stay here until I find out exactly what happened to Philip. How? Why?
Yes, I can understand how you'd feel about your brother, Mr. Westwick. But you haven't told me the reason you want room 14.
Oh, that was the master bedroom. I've got a hunch. If Nerona left any clue, it would be there.
Here are your rooms, sir, madame.
Well, good night and very good luck.
I'll see you around tomorrow evening, won't I, Miss James?
I think so. After all, we Americans have got to stick together. And, Henry?
Yes?
My first name's Elaine.
I went into my own room, shut the door. And immediately that overwhelming sense of depression closed in on me again. For a few minutes there in the hall, Elaine's warmth and vitality had dispelled it. Now, alone, in the very place of my brother's death, I felt more than ever confused and discouraged. Where to start my search? I didn't know. As I crept between the cool sheets, I thought, how much this room could tell me. If it would only speak. If I were only sensitive enough to grasp what it was saying. Then I just drifted aimlessly with the sound of the canal in my ears, lifting me up, bearing me along like a bit of wood on its surface. For a while, I didn't realize the sound had changed, that it had become a murmur of voices speaking fluent Italian. But then I began to see them, a man and a woman. Their images were slightly distorted, like an improperly focused motion picture. And even through my dream, I knew I was outside the scene, invisible to them, an audience of one.
How can you ask that of me, Rivar? You're my brother, the only one on earth I care about. How can you ask me to sacrifice myself to that?
Unattractive boor of an American. Do you think I'm unaware of your feelings, Nerona? That I'm totally blind to how much it repels you? But what can I do? They're after me again for my gambling debts. And those men are vicious, completely unprincipled. Why, killing me would mean as little to them as snapping a toothpick. And surely you don't want my death on your soul.
Oh, please, Rivar. Don't try to work on my sympathies. You sound like such a fool.
But, Nerona, he's not an unkind man. Didn't he lease this castle for us and let us move in just on the hope that you'd marry?
Keep still, can't you? Very well. I shall send Westwick a note by messenger saying I accept his proposal. What's today's date, Rivar?
It's the 16th. December 16th. And thank you, Nerona.
I don't know which happened first. The screen going blank or my mind refusing any more of the vision. But suddenly I found myself sitting up straight in bed, my eyes wide open, my hands digging convulsively into the quilt on each side of my sweat-soaked body. Oh, a horrible nightmare, I thought. And perhaps I could have accepted it as such, except for one thing. In the dream, there had been a wastepaper basket near Nerona's desk, with a newspaper lying on top of it. And while I could not see the Countess nor her brother clearly, the date of that paper had been quite plain. December 15th. And my brother had written to me that his fiancée was so eager for their marriage she had inadvertently dated her acceptance a day ahead. That detail had left my mind completely. Could this dream have been an extension of reality? Emotions undergone so vivid they had left their impress on the walls to be returned to whomever would receive them? I did not sleep much the rest of the night. I spent the next afternoon in a thoroughly fruitless search for some clue to Nerona's present whereabouts. I was rather glad by 8 o'clock to shower and change clothes at the hotel. I'd just finished dinner and decided on a stroll when I heard Elaine calling me.
Henry! Hi. Do you always eat dinner so late? I waited for hours and hours, and then I decided I was just too hungry.
Well, I am flattered. Want to go for a walk with me?
I'd love to. And you needn't be so pleased with yourself. It really isn't any special accomplishment of your own that you're the only decent-looking male in the hotel.
Thank you for that left-handed compliment. And are you going to chase me all over the place, Elaine?
Oh, madly. Tell me, how did today's sleuthing go, Sherlock?
Oh, not very well, I'm afraid. The only new factor I've discovered is that no one in all Venice seems to have ever seen Nerona.
Why, that's incredible.
I know. But Philip alone signed the lease, and then he and Nerona and Rivar moved into the castle. That much the real estate agent told me.
How about the servants? Surely they must have seen her.
Well, there was only one. A man named Ferrari had been with the Countess a long time. Now, he's disappeared completely. Oh, I suppose they took him with them, wherever they've gone.
You have got a puzzle, haven't you?
Well, even if I did discover that Philip was murdered, I still don't have the faintest idea of what his murderess looks like, and nobody seems familiar with their titles.
Probably phonies.
Say, I never thought of that. You know, Elaine?
What?
I'm not sure, of course, but there really may be something under that hair.
Why,
oh. Ouch.
And I shall wear my brass knuckles in the future.
Madam, please, I have a very delicate stomach. Did you hear the sound it made when you belted me?
Idiot. That was my bracelet. See? 6 tiny sleigh bells on a silver chain.
Oh, well, I thought that they only put sleigh bells on horses.
Oh, you...
Ow. Maybe we'd better get back to the hotel before you really get angry. Then you'll have to carry me home. I've never met a girl like Elaine before. Pretty, intelligent, with a sense of humor, all at the same time. It was with the greatest reluctance that I finally consented to our saying goodnight, to making her promise that she'd see me next evening. But was that the only reason I wondered? Was I afraid that I might have another dream? I pulled the cover up to my shoulders. And almost instantly, as if it had been impatient for my coming, the dream began again.
I can't stand him any longer, Riva. Not another day. He's been married just 2 weeks, and already he's scrimping. Already he's being economical. Why don't you take the bus, Nerona, instead of a cab? It's just as comfortable.
And he seems to think that paying my debts absolves him of all other responsibility toward me. And what's more, that I should be eternally grateful to him for it. Has he said anything about those suits I bought?
No, he hasn't seen the bills yet. Oh, it's hard enough on you, I'll admit, but how about me? He just stays in that library, reading all the time, and refuses even to let me go outside the door without him. Riva, I'm leaving him.
No.
Why not? We've paid off those gangsters you call your friends.
Look, let's not fool ourselves, Nerona. We'll always be spending more than we've got. We can't throw him away. Just yet.
Baron Rivar, Mr. Westwick wants to see you. I'm afraid it's that tailor bill.
Oh, Lord. Now I'll have to stand there like a disobedient little boy while he gives me a dressing down.
I said I thought you were out of the house, but he'd seen you come in.
How's your cold, Ferrari?
Oh, not too good, Countess. Not too good.
If only there was some way to have Westwick's money without his presence. Or if we could just make a quick killing and... Yes, a quick killing.
Riva, no.
Do you want to live with that man the rest of your days? Tell me, Nerona, does your husband carry any life insurance?
All had gone black again. I was pushing desperately through the thick sludge of sleep, struggling back into consciousness. It was nearly dawn. The world from my window looked cool and clean and quiet. I was so shaken I could barely dress. But I knew only a long walk would calm my shivering nerves. And besides, there were a few telegrams I had to send. Telegrams which might clear up the mystery of Philip's death. The day went well, incredibly better than I'd hoped. And yet, getting my key from the desk that evening, I realized I was right back where I started. I walked down the corridor and I hesitated in front of Elaine's door. Should I knock and say hello? Or wait till I was dressed for dinner? And that problem was quickly solved.
Good evening.
Well, how did you know I was here?
Well, ours are the only rooms at the end of this hall. I heard you walk by and stop, and no sound of a key.
For a moment you had me worried. I thought you were psychic.
Oh, I am. Didn't you know? I'm the seventh daughter of a seventh son of a seventh son. They slipped me in because they thought they were getting in a rut.
Really? Oh, then I don't have to tell you what I found out today, do I? Oh, you know it already.
Oh, come on inside, you horrible creature, and stop keeping me in suspense. Now, tell me all about it.
Well, I feel like a pawn in a chess game, Elaine. The minute my side forges ahead, something occurs to checkmate it.
Like what, for instance?
Oh, like discovering Philip had been insured for $50,000.
$50,000?
I telegraphed all the insurance companies in America today, and one of them cabled the information immediately.
Why, Henry, you're brilliant. Whatever gave you the idea?
Well, I've been having... It was just a hunch. They gave me the name of Philip's examining physician here in town who filled in the death certificate, and I checked up on him this afternoon.
Yes?
No. Straight as a die. Got the best reputation of any doctor in Venice. Now, he swears my brother died of bronchitis, and, well, I'm sure the insurance examiners weren't any too cheerful about handing out $50,000, especially with only one premium paid on it, but they believed him.
Oh, that means a dead trail again, huh?
I'm afraid so.
Oh, Henry, I wish I could help you. If there were only something I could do.
I'll tell you what, Elaine. Get into a fluffy dress and clasp those funny little sleigh bells around your wrist, and we'll go out and really see Venice tonight.
Okay, Henry. I'll meet you in the lobby in 10 minutes. What? You've been trying to act gay all evening. That's exactly what it's been. An act.
I'm sorry, Elaine. I didn't mean to worry you with my troubles.
You worry me much more when you won't tell me. What worries you?
I know you're tired. It's nearly 2 o'clock, and you've been yawning for the past half hour. Elaine, would you think me crazy if I told you I was afraid to go back into my room? Afraid to go to sleep?
But why?
I have the most hideous dreams. All about Philip, the Countess, and her brother.
Oh, good heavens, Henry. That's perfectly natural. The 3 of them are constantly on your mind. And you are using Norona's old room.
But the nightmares seem to be planned. They seem to have a purpose behind them.
Look, if you wish, I'll gladly change rooms with you.
No, thanks a lot, Elaine. But the least I can do for whatever's trying to give me the message is to receive it. Good night, folks. Sleep comes so easily now. Perhaps because I was too anxious to get into the dream, or because for the first time I'd acknowledged a complete belief in it. At any rate, my eyes simply wouldn't stay closed. My mind kept whirling ceaselessly. I tried to lie very quietly, without thrashing, and my body grew taut and straining with the effort. Finally, just as I felt I could stand this immobility no longer, the thread snapped. My brain went limp, and the shadow play continued.
Take another look, Riva. He promised he'd come immediately.
The doctor's not here yet, Nerona. Do you think I'm blind?
No, I'm sorry. It's just nervousness, I guess.
Poor sister. Never mind. It'll be all over with by tomorrow.
Yes, Ferrari. Ah, but we should come to this, Riva. The only friend we have left. And we bury him in another's grave.
I don't mind, Countess. In fact, I should be flattered. Think how long I shall be pointed out as a millionaire instead of the pauper I really am. Twice before I had this illness, I knew a third attack would be fatal.
He's coming. Quickly now, Ferrari. Repeat your story.
Yes. I am Philip Westwick. Last week I caught cold, but I refused to have a doctor, even though my wife pleaded strenuously that I should. I hold a $50,000 policy on my life, and in the event of my death, I wish the doctor to communicate with them. My wife will arrange all the funeral details and notify my relatives in America.
Right. Now, I must go into the library and find my husband. He'll be pleased to see me, I'm sure. There's a small jeweler's bill of mine he's taken in there to study. Oh, well. That'll soon be over for good. And it's most important Philip doesn't wander into this part of the house while the doctor's still here. That might prove awkward.
Nerona, when do we finish with Philip?
Tonight, after the doctor's safely gone.
How?
A knife.
But you know I can't stand the sight of blood.
Don't worry, I intend to do this thing myself. I do not propose to have it bungled. There. He's at the door now. Wait until I'm out of sight, then answer him. And Riva.
Yes?
If the doctor asks where Mrs. Westwick is, tell him my constant vigilance has tired me so. I'm asleep in another room.
Very well, Nerona. Very well.
The tableau faded slowly before my eyes. And try as my subconscious would to call it back, make it unreal further for me. The curtain remained stubbornly closed. I didn't wake after this dream, as I always had before. Sank into a dense, hypnotic slumber. Then I felt hot, bright fingers of sunlight touch my eyelids. I knew it was morning, and I awoke. Between bath and my breakfast, I formulated a final plan. Something in last night's vision had given me an idea. It was just a little lead, to be sure, but everything else had turned out in blind alley. So I had to try it. I was sitting on the floor in the library, surrounded by books, when Elaine walked in. Oh, looking for someone, lady?
What? Oh, Henry. Is this where you've been all afternoon? I just came in to get a magazine, because when you are not around, the hotel's so boring.
Thank you for them kind words, ma'am. You can add them to my bill when I leave.
What are you doing? Is this another clue in the case of the missing countess? Or have you simultaneously lost your mind and found a new variation on paper dolly?
It's a clue, I think. Well, sit down here. Make yourself useful.
All right. Now what?
Well, look through this pile of books and see if you can find a bill or a letter. I have reason to believe Nerona bought some jewelry.
So what? All women buy jewelry. Even I do.
If we can find out where she bought it, we'll be able to get her description. See?
Oh, of course. What a dope I am.
Oh, I never argue with a lady.
What?
If the bill's not here, it won't matter too much. I'll canvass every jewelry store in Venice till I hit the right one.
How come you're so sure of this angle, Henry? Did you find out something new?
Well, I had a dream about Nerona last night.
Oh, well, tell me, Henry. What does she look like? Is she beautiful?
It's funny, but I don't really know. It's as though I'm nearsighted and can't get the image distinctly. Help me, I've tried. Hey.
What? Oh, Henry, it's a letter. Well, open it quickly. See if it's the one we want.
It is. A bill made out to Philip for 3,000 lira. Oh, Elaine, this is the break. This is the opening wedge. I've got a hunch that from now on the mystery's going to crack wide open. I'm going to phone this jeweler for an appointment.
I don't want to be a killjoy, Henry, but it says on the bill, store hours from 10 to 6. It's nearly 7 now.
Oh, well, it doesn't matter. I'll go tomorrow. Tonight we'll celebrate. We'll have truffles and nightingale's tongues and champagne. The works.
Anyway, Henry, we'll have the champagne.
Late that night, when we returned to the hotel, I felt more than ever that at last I was getting to the root of Philip's death. I crept into bed. I could wait for the dream calmly now, because I was no longer running around in circles, right at the threshold to my brother's vengeance. I recognized the corridor outside my own door, and Rivar and Nerona walking softly toward it.
You're sure you can do it?
I'm not afraid. I'll go through with my end of it. Just be sure you don't mess up yours. Remember now, the biggest wine cask you can find in the cellar, and saw a wide enough hole in the top so the body will go through.
Have you got the knife?
Of course. Now go, for heaven's sake. You make me nervous.
I watched her, with an icy, agonized horror no earlier dream had produced. She stealthily opened the door. I could see Philip at the window, his back toward us, gazing out over the canal. I didn't seem to hear her footsteps sliding across the floor, coming nearer and nearer to him. I wanted to shout, scream at him, warn him against Nerona. But I knew I was just a spectator, watching a hideous motion picture, and I could not change this ending. She stopped then, motionless, just in back of him. I saw her hand come up slowly, with a sharp, slender knife, the blade glittering up brightly as the bracelet on her wrist. Just as it started downward for the final thrust, I heard a familiar sound. It was then I realized the dream had dissolved and that I was gazing up at reality. I grabbed her hand.
Ow! Oh, let me go.
Elaine. Oh, it was you.
Let me go.
No. Knifing one member of the Westlake family is quite enough. Countess Nerona.
One moment more and you'd never have known my identity.
Yes, I would. I'd seen your hand. With a knife. With a sleigh bell bracelet.
So, that gave me away, did it? The last thing your brother ever paid for, alive, Henry. If you had not found the bill for it, I shouldn't have tried to kill you tonight.
No. When would you have tried to kill me, Countess?
Perhaps never. I liked you, Henry. Riva and I learned of your arrival from the shipping news while we were at Milan collecting Philip's insurance from the branch office there. I followed you, of course, to make sure you discovered nothing. However, we were both unfortunate.
Especially you, Nerona. Walk in front of me to the telephone. I've got the dagger now, remember. Night clerk, will you please call the police, tell them there's a murderess in room 14? Yes, thank you. Go on, Nerona. What about your American accent? It's quite perfect.
I really am a countess, even though from an obscure town in Luxembourg. And I was given the appropriate education. I could speak 6 languages fluently at the age of 10. However, one cannot turn titles into bread nowadays, and so we had to live by our wits, Riva and I.
Come in.
Senora Westwick, they are here. Shall I send them in?
No. I shall go out to them. Henry, take this bracelet to remember me by. Such little deaths. One would not think them capable of sounding a deaf man.
Senora, the authorities grow impatient.
Of course. Goodbye, Henry.
Goodbye. Goodbye, Elaine.
From the time-worn pages of the past, we have brought you the immortal story of the Haunted Hotel. Bellkeeper, hold the bell.